Welcome, everyone. This is your friend, the DN What If, here with another exciting fanfiction. Today, we're diving into the story of what if Deku became the admin of reality? If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fanfiction content just like this. Now, let's get started with the fanfic. Dagobah Beach was quiet. Except for the distant screech of gulls, the only sound was the labored breathing of Izuku Midoriya kneeling in the sand, trembling hands on his thighs, stomach twisted into a stress pretzel. All Might stood before him, his muscular frame glowing golden in the sunlight, while holding out a single strand of his own hair. "All you have to do is eat this," he said, as if that were a completely normal sentence for one human being to say to another and not a horrifying biological dare. Izuku stared at him, eyes wide. He had waited for this moment his entire life. Really?" All Might smiled. "Yes, young Midoriya. Today marks your first step toward becoming the #1 hero." Izuku took the strand with reverent, trembling fingers. Then took a deep breath. Then promptly gagged, spat it out, and immediately threw up. Twice. The first hair went down. The second came right back up. The third didn't even get the chance. Izuku instinctively yeeted it into the ocean with a panicked whimper. "Why does it taste like tragedy?" All Might gently held out a fourth strand, as if this were just another typical Tuesday. "Try again, my boy." Izuku groaned, face green, but powered through. He clenched his eyes shut, plugged his nose, and finally swallowed it down on attempt #4 like a true hero. And then the universe broke. Version: My Hero Ultra Rumble V9999 HitlerJoe.exe. Welcome, new one for all holder. Permissions detected, super admin level. Abilities available, yes. Hacks enabled, oh. Izuku blinked. A glowing window appeared in midair in front of him. Midoriya HUD online. Health, 100%. Aimbot, off ESP, on wallhack, enabled. Reality editor, root access granted. He stood perfectly still. "Ah." All Might frowned. "Are you all right, young Midoriya?" Izuku narrowed his eyes. He didn't know how, but he thought about opening All Might's profile. Toshinori Yagi. Status: critical. Quirk: 1 for all, residual. Health: 37%. Quirk integrity: broken. Body: paper mode. Combat style: 2XXX Nostalgia Edition. Izuku blinked again. That's not right. And then, he did it. Somewhere deep inside him, something new took over. He began to rewrite the world. Hack enabled, make All Might GOAT. Restore body, true. Plus ultra always on, true. Max muscle form, true. Damage multiplier, 5x. Add skill. Detroit nuke smash. A green pulse exploded out of Izuku. All Might shielded his eyes. What are you?" Zop. His body cracked. His muscles inflated like balloons but without internal trauma. His skin smoothed out, glowing with divine HD polish. His hair shimmered like it had been blessed by God's own hairdryer. His smile gained cinematic lens flares. "Is this?" All Might version 2.0 installed. Quirk: 1 for all ++, absolute perfection. Skills all. Stats, yes. Izuku stared at All Might version 2.0 with a crooked smile, nearly incredulous. "You know what All Might?" he said, a mix of amazement and awe in his voice. "More than my new powers, I'm honestly just glad you finally look like a real hero again. Those muscles, that glow, did you get an Instagram filter or something?" All Might, now radiating the glory of his upgraded form, raised an eyebrow and chuckled. "Heh. Well, Midoriya, after all this time, even I needed an update. I can't be left behind in this digital age." Izuku's smile faded slightly as he looked down at his hands. "But, did I really earn this? I mean, this power it just activated, like some kind of god-tier cheat code. What if I didn't deserve it? What if I'm not worthy?" All Might's expression softened. He stepped forward, placing a strong, warm hand on Izuku's shoulder. "Young Midoriya, power takes many forms. Sometimes it's built. Sometimes it's inherited. But the key is how you use it. You've always had the heart of a hero. This system, this strange quirk of fate, it saw that. It chose you. Izuku looked up, eyes wide and uncertain. But what if I mess it up? All Might smiled, brighter than the sun itself. Then you get back up. Again and again. That's what makes you worthy. That's what makes you a hero. Not the code. The choice. Izuku took a deep breath, steadied by the words and by the hand of the legend beside him. Then I'll make sure I'm the kind of person who deserves this power. You already are, Midoriya, All Might said, pride swelling in his voice. Let's go rewrite the future. Together. The gates of UA High loomed ahead, bright and imposing, like a final boss arena forged from hope and taxpayer money. Izuku stood frozen, staring up. Not just from nerves, well, yes, nerves, but mostly because his HUD was actively analyzing every person within a 500-meter radius. He decided to shut it off until the practical exam. Just before doing so, however, a red alert blinked into view. Alert, hostile presence identified nearby. Before he could look around, a hard push to his shoulder froze him. His body tensed into auto-defense mode, not because of the push itself, but because of who it came from. Katsuki Bakugo. The world seemed to halt as his HUD registered the figure before him. Katsuki Bakugo. Status, enemy abuser. Quirk, explosion. Warning, active hostile intent detected. Health, 100%. Quirk integrity, not awakened. In less than a fraction of a second, Izuku closed the HUD and tried to walk away, eyes still trailing the explosive brat. Distracted, he failed to notice a loose brick underfoot. He expected to fall but instead found himself hovering. Looking around in confusion, his eyes met those of a girl with soft auburn hair. Instinctively, he reactivated the HUD. Shigaraki, Quirk, 0 gravity. Health, 100% stress, 55%. Status, friendly. Quirk integrity, not awakened. Secondary effects, nausea, disorientation. Oh no, sorry. I didn't mean to just grab you like that. I saw you trip and instinct kicked in. He quickly shut down the HUD again as reality resumed. I didn't trip. I mean, maybe I did, but I wasn't going to. Probably. Maybe. Thank you. I'm Izuku Midoriya, I mean Izuku. Weight reverse that a high. Social coherence, 17%. Warning, charisma dump detected. Uraraka giggled softly and let go of his arm. Izuku landed gently, his knees wobbling from more than just the effects of gravity. My name's Ochako Uraraka. You okay now? That was almost a very dramatic entrance. Yeah, I'm okay now. Just so you know, I was, surveying the sidewalk. For structural weaknesses. You know, hero stuff. Did I just say, structural weaknesses, to a girl? Oh God, she thinks I'm a sidewalk inspector. What kind of first impression is that? She laughed again, but Izuku, trained by years of bullying, could tell it was a genuine, harmless giggle. Well, I guess we both saved each other, huh? I stopped you from falling, and you gave me the best laugh I've had all morning. Uraraka, Quirk, 0 gravity. Health, 100% stress, 23%. Status, very friendly. You have a nice quirk. What's it called? Izuku made absolutely sure not to say anything he shouldn't already know. Thanks. It's called 0 gravity. Yours is? Is still figuring it out. She smiled. Ooh, mysterious. I like it. I hope you'll show me when we officially get into UA. She waved and jogged off toward the front plaza. Izuku stood there, stunned. Then he walked 2 steps. And tripped on the exact same brick. Thankfully, she didn't see it this time. Dusting himself off, he made his way inside to find his classroom. After 7 minutes of wandering, he finally located the exam room. There were easily over 100 people present. No wonder UA had such low acceptance rates. He sat at the nearest empty seat and began the test. Since quirk usage wasn't prohibited, he decided to give himself a little mental boost. Cerebral activity, 150%. 20 minutes later, he turned in his test. Behind him, A tall girl with long black hair and onyx eyes raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised she wasn't the first. He left the building and headed to the conference room for details on the practical exam. Upon arrival, the room was nearly empty, so he took a seat close to the front. After 30 minutes, the rest of the students filed in. As he looked at the stage, a familiar voice called out. It was Ochako, energetically waving as she chose the seat to his left. They chatted about the exam and how packed the room was, until the lights suddenly shut off. A spotlight ignited the stage. Then boom. A thunderous voice shattered the silence. Microphone. Good morning, little listeners. Microphone. A blond man in shades and a leather jacket exploded onto the stage, fingers raised in a rock and roll salute. His long hair swayed dramatically under the stage lights. Microphone. This is your DJ of Doom, your host of Hype, your audio anarchist present Mithi Thayik. Microphone. Microphone. Can I get a yeah from these future heroes? Microphone. Yee-hia-ah-ha. Izuku and Ochako shouted, only to realize they were the only ones who did. Microphone. Now that's what I'm talking about. Microphone. Izuku straightened in his seat, eyes sparkling. Izuku. No wait. It's him. Uraraka, grinning. Right? I love his weekend show. I listen to it when I study. Izuku. Same. His Quirk segment Saturdays are amazing. I recorded the one on electrotypes last month. Fan mode, activated. Bond level with Ochako, +2. Present mic dove into the explanation. Microphone. This ain't your average orientation, folks, this is you, baby. And today? We separate the sidekicks from the legends. Microphone. A 3D map of a cityscape appeared on the screen behind him. Microphone. You'll enter a battleground full of villain-style robots. Destroy them, earn points. More points, better score. Microphone. 1-pointer, small and fast. 2-pointer, mid-size, balanced. 3-pointer, big and punchy. Microphone. 10 minutes. No teamwork required, no surrendering allowed, and no mercy on metal. Microphone. He paused as the final image revealed a hulking bot labeled 0 points. Microphone. This guy? Worth nothing. Just an obstacle. Dodge him if you like, but don't waste your time unless you've got a death wish or a hero complex. Suddenly. Ida Tenya. Excuse me, sir. The room fell silent. Ida. This test is highly irregular. A 0-point trap robot? What is the educational value in that? Microphone. Great question, glasses guy. It's called stress testing. Heroes deal with the unexpected. Sometimes life throws a building-sized robot at you, and if you flinch, someone else takes your moment. Microphone. Ida. I see. Uraraka, whispering to Izuku. He's intense. Izuku. Yeah. Angrily correct, intense. Ida, turning toward them. View. Whispering during the explanation is disrespectful. Izuku, frozen. You weren't. I mean, technically, yes, but I wasn't. Uraraka, smiling sweetly. Sorry. We just really like the radio show. But technically, you're the one interrupting the professor now. Ida blinked, then cleared his throat. You are absolutely right. I apologize. Please, continue. Microphone. Now then. Present mic roared, raising a hand like a rock star summoning lightning. Microphone. Report to your designated battlefields. Break those bots. Make your mark. And remember, go beyond. Microphone. The crowd roared back. Plus Ultra. Exam Grounds Battlefield Beta. A mock city stood still beneath cloudy skies. Giant blast doors lined one wall, each surrounded by clusters of tense applicants. Izuku stood near the back, hood up, fingers twitching. His HUD flickered to life. Midoriya HUD, online. Energy flow, stable. Skill preset, combat starter, ready. Buff, mom's prayer, luck +3. He clenched and unclenched his fists. The energy buzzed inside him like bottled lightning. Izuku, thinking. Stay calm. Just a field test. A very public, high-stakes, potentially life-altering field test. No pressure. Load preset, Urban Shredder Mode version 1.2, Yes, no. He hesitated, then focused. Izuku. Yes. White heavy checkmark preset loaded. Speed boost, active. Reaction time, X4. SP, enabled. Recalling the mental image of himself exploding from OFA overload, Izuku decided to play it safe for now. Muscle skeletal. Source and front. Body indica 2.0. Limiter, excluding 3. 145%. White heavy checkmark installing modifier. Floppy disk biostructure rewrite complete. Denim muscle frame reinforced with adaptive shock sponge. Flexed biceps pain feedback, 20%. Skull and crossbones, internal damage, immune, limited. One for all, 45%, online. He felt it flood through him power, control, authority. A klaxon blared. The gates cracked open. But before anyone could move. Microphone, what are you all doing? Present Mick's voice exploded from the loudspeakers. Microphone, this isn't a turn-based RPG, people. Oof, 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 microphone. The crowd jolted like they'd all been simultaneously hit with a taser and a double espresso. Students surged forward like a stampede of caffeine-fueled test-takers, limbs flailing and war cries ranging from plus ultra to get out of my way, normie. But Izuku didn't run. He stood perfectly still, scanning the mock city with the cool detachment of someone choosing violence strategically. Years of obsessively analyzing pro-hero footage had taught him one thing. Running is for people with loading screens. Instead, he crouched. Slightly, knees bending, muscles coiling. He wasn't just going to run. He was going to jump to another tax bracket. All Might could run 5 kilometers in 30 seconds, Izuku muttered under his breath, calculating. That's 166.67 meters per second. And that was weakened All Might. Prime All Might clocked in at 1,291 ms. He blinked as the math finished buffering in his brain. If I go even half that, I'm going to leave my face in the wall like a discount Looney Tune. Reaction time, 175x. Izuku activated the preset. Time slowed to a crawl. A leaf fell in front of him. He watched it turn midair and briefly considered giving it a name. Kevin. Definitely a Kevin. Then he launched. The air behind him imploded with a thunderclap. Concrete cracked. His HUD blinked furiously, trying to recalculate physics while also checking for fake property damage claims. As he soared over the others, he looked down. Most students were barely 3 steps in. One guy was still tripping. Izuku overtook gravity itself. Add buff. Dramatic entrance. He landed with a controlled shockwave, dust and small debris bursting outward like cinematic confetti. Ahead, 1-pointers were powering on. The mechanical whirs sounded more like confused toddlers being booted from sleep mode. Izuku cracked his knuckles. He smiled. Time to make his hero. Time to make his deity proud. Collision first fight, air pressure combo. A dozen 1-pointers stood ahead of him, limbs twitching as they came online. Autosave slot 001 created. In case I break everything. He didn't even touch them. A sound wave from his punch ripped through the air, shredding the bots like a whisper made of C4. Metal screeched. Joints snapped. Robots launched like confetti into buildings and walls. Point counter created, current points, 12. As another wave of robots locked onto him, Izuku calmly opened the debug console. Edit self.tagged. White heavy checkmark change applied. The bots scanned the area. Robot number 1. Target not detected. Robot number 2. Target not detected. Robot number 3. Spins in a circle like a Roomba. Izuku stood completely still, one hand raised in a weak wave like a cheap floor lamp. Stealth status, IKEA mode. Once the robots walked past, he turned off the tag and suplexed one into a dumpster. Edit entity, robot _morphize, metal plaque. Entity robot _morph. Hashtag $% fatal error. He meant to hack its targeting system. Instead he created Pepe, a gray pug, with wheels for hind legs, 2 floppy metal ears, and a permanent, pleading emoji faceplate. Pepe sat, tilted his head, and barked in Morse code. Then he began following Izuku everywhere. Okay, I didn't mean to do that, oh no, please don't sit on the landmine zone, Pepe Eno. New companion acquired. Pepe exit. Status, good boy. Alignment, chaotic wholesome. Function, emotional support plus Pepe rolled beside him, panting steam and wagging a mechanical tail that made a squeaky toy noise every third beat. As Izuku turned a corner, he spotted 3 two-pointers about to dogpile another student. He snapped his fingers. Apply modifier, slippery soap physics, to robot under speed. White heavy checkmark modifier applied. All 3 bots slid uncontrollably into each other and bounced off the walls like rubber ball in a microwave. One spun out and exploded in a trash can. Points, 28. Should I feel bad? Probably. Will I stop? No. He spotted a 3-pointer powering up in the plaza. Set jump _height 7. White heavy checkmark jump force set. He launched 40 feet into the air, fist charged, cape, which he didn't remember equipping, fluttering behind him. Activating move, Detroit airstrike. The punch didn't hit the robot. It hit the concept of the robot. The shockwave crushed the target and 3 others nearby. Debris flew everywhere. Points, 58. Okay, maybe tone it down. Izuku continued forward, punching, redirecting, occasionally just looking at robots and deleting them from existence like he was using an eraser in MS Paint. He decided to fuse some of the robots into an All Might statue shining golden in the center of the city. Pepe chased after him, occasionally tripping enemy sensors and barking wildly as if cheering him on. Eventually, his HUD pinged. Points, 117. Warning, approaching All Might's record. Izuku skidded to a halt. Nope. I'm not doing that. Let the legend stay a legend. Disable combat AI. Enable Coach Mode. White heavy checkmark change applied. Coach Mode, engaged. Welcome, Motivational Menace. Instead of continuing to obliterate bots, he walked over to a small cluster of students in need and helped them coordinate attacks, dishing out advice like a superpowered team coach. Pepe barked in agreement, totally not whispering goofy ideas for his power use in a language alien to humans. Hey, you, with the explosive bubblegum Quirk pair up with Green Lightning Girl. You're both sync your timing. Stretchy arms guy, that one on the roof is a 3-pointer. Go long. A timid-looking kid raised a hand mid-fight. What about me? I can only summon Toast. Izuku paused, typed something in the console. Apply modifier, Toast explosive _. White heavy checkmark Toast upgraded. Throw that. The kid launched it. It detonated like a carb-loaded grenade. Oh my god, I'm useful. Izuku nodded proudly, like a parent watching their child finally master a fork. Meanwhile, Pepe Xe rolled in circles around each group, barking like a motivational speaker, occasionally biting robots in the ankles just enough to distract them. His tail squeaked every time a student scored a point. Attaboy, Pepe, Izuku muttered. Observation room. The main screen flickered as a dozen teacher feeds tried to follow Izuku's code-defying existence. Present mic. He's supposed to be taking the exam, not moderating it. Midnight, scribbling notes, he just rewrote the physics engine into a group project. I'm aroused and terrified, but mostly aroused. Aizawa, calmly sipping coffee, at least he's helping people. Nizu, tail twitching with unhinged curiosity. He turned a hostile AI bot into a pug. Pepe appeared on screen, barking in Morse code and spinning like a fidget spinner. Power loader, is it? Is it running on an emotional core processor? Cementos, he's crowd-controlling the battlefield better than we do sometimes. Those kids would have been crushed by now. Nizu leaned forward. Nizu, keep the feed on him. I want to see how he handles the 0-pointer. They failed to notice him watching Pepe closely, not Izuku. Izuku started to feel the ground tremble beneath him, the entire mock city rumbling like an awakening titan. An alien trumpet blared in the distance like something straight out of War of the Worlds. His HUD flashed red. Urgent flag triggered. Proximity alert. Friendly in critical condition. Bakugo status. Pinned bleeding stress, 91%. Health, 73%. 0-pointer approaching fast. His breath caught. Uraraka? Pepe barked twice, then once more, as if to say, "We ride at dawn." Izuku faced the towering 0-pointer. It loomed like a skyscraper on tank treads, its grinding gears screaming menace. He didn't hesitate. Pepe. The pug stopped spinning. Fusion command, rider mode. Merge companion. Pepe.exe with user locomotion. White heavy checkmark fusion. Pepe mech mode initiated. Mount. Pepe von Malawian Kwacha. Status. Battle Doggo online. Speed. 110% jump boost. Yes, weapon slot. Open. Pepe unfolded into a makeshift hoverboard with a saddle. His face remained adorably sad. Hang on, Uraraka. I'm bringing a pug-powered nuke. Izuku boosted forward, cape flapping, eyes locked on the target. As he neared, he activated his final combo. Load skin V. Apply override. Target, joint_axis_knee_plate. Execute. With a war cry powered by cheat codes, hope, and emotionally repressed trauma, he launched skyward on a double jump. Pepe barked. Skill, smash. Plus critical emotional determination bonus. Izuku's punch didn't destroy the robot, it folded it, the entire leg collapsing inward like a building's controlled demolition. The 0-pointer teetered and fell, crashing into the ground just barely clear of Uraraka's crater. She lay there, dazed but alive. He landed beside her, breath shaky, hands trembling. "Hey," he said softly. "You okay?" She blinked at him. "Did you just ride a pug into battle?" He nodded solemnly. "His name is Pepe. He speaks Morse." "Cool." As the smoke cleared and the 0-pointer let out its final hiss of mechanical failure, emergency bots zipped in to begin cleanup. A sharp whistle echoed across the city. Microphone, "Yeah, that's a wrap. Future heroes." Present Mix voice boomed across the city, louder than a mech on Monster Energy. Microphone, "Time's up. Drop your weapons unless your weapon is your vibe and report to the staging area for debrief." Microphone, "And remember, if you got blasted, squashed, or helped by a pug, that's okay. That's called growth, baby." Microphone, "Some of you went plus ultra, one of you went plus hacking the universe, not naming names. Midoriya." Microphone, "But seriously, good job, all of you. Now go get some water before you pass out from pure awesomeness." Izuku knelt beside Uraraka, who was still catching her breath. Her ankle was swollen, her palm scraped and bleeding. "You okay?" he asked again, more gently this time. She breathed. "Just twisted my ankle and lost like 30% of my dignity." 30? That fall was way too cool for anything less than 60. He pulled up a glowing screen in midair. Open command. First__overlay. Target, Uraraka.ankle. Apply, stability_patch, pain_reduction, quick_heal.subroutine. White heavy checkmark patch applied. A soft green light encased her ankle. The swelling faded. Her cuts closed in real time. "I what? You can heal now?" "I can code heal," Izuku said sheepishly. Still figuring out the legal boundaries. Pepe barked in legally ambiguous agreement. Two other students nearby, one holding their shoulder, the other limping, looked over hesitantly. Izuku waved them in. "Come on. No one suffers on my watch. Unless they deserve it." A certain spiky blonde echoed in his mind. He hoped they'd end up in the same class so he could hack his grumpy, abusive butt. The three injured students sat around him as he patched them up like a high-tech Boy Scout. Uraraka offered them chocolate from her emergency snack bar. Pepe stole half, clearly thrilled to not be made of meat and therefore above consequences. One kid blinked at Izuku's glowing UI. "Wait, are you a Hero Core student or a copy of All Might with 1000 terabytes of RAM?" Izuku just smiled. "Yes." Once the injuries were healed, the students walked off smiling, bruises gone and spirits lifted. Uraraka and Izuku were left on the bench. She pulled out a flip phone, cracked screen, glitter stickers half peeled. "Hey," she said, cheeks pink. Wanna exchange numbers? In case we both get in. Izuku's soul briefly left his body, returned with a software update. Why yeah, of course. Just give me a sec. He pulled out his phone, which looked less like a phone and more like a sci-fi user interface orb from the year Uraraka stared. What is that? He glanced between their phones. Would you mind if I upgraded yours real quick? Wait, what does that mean? Enhance object, Uraraka, phone model ultra-friendly Smart X version 4.0. Features, unlimited battery, drop-proof, hollow UI, built-in pug emoji keyboard. White heavy checkmark upgrade applied. Her flip phone transformed with a happy chime, screen blooming into a holographic interface, complete with a 3D pug bouncing on the home screen. Did you just give my phone a soul? You might have. I love him. They exchanged numbers. Greenheart Deku certified good boy. Cherry Blossom Ochako Uraraka, status, heroic cinnamon roll cherry blossom. Pepe barked twice, then projected a message on Uraraka's new phone. Speech balloon, hey girl, just letting you know, this nerd? He's the real deal. Speech balloon, sent by Pepe Exi, emotional support dog and wingpug. Did your dog just text me? To be honest, I'm still not sure what he can't do. Pepe winked. Both eyes. At once. The flap of the recovery tent opened with a whoosh. In stepped Izuku, followed by a bleeding examinee clutching their side. Pepe rolled in behind them, barking once in a tone that said, he's about to do something illegal. Recovery girl stood, raising her clipboard. Alright sweetie, let's get that checked. I got it. Izuku announced with the same twinkle in his eye shared by hackers and men who definitely read the terms and conditions and did it anyway. He raised his hand and summoned a glowing UI console. Edit wound. Remove. Apply buff. Tissue _+ plus. White heavy checkmark healing applied. A soft green pulse washed over the student's side. The wound closed instantly. The kid blinked. Thanks, Wizard Jesus. Recovery girl's eye twitched. You can't just, that's not how cells work. Izuku smiled. I just ran a basic command string. Nothing invasive. You edited a spleen like a Google Doc. He winced. Would it help if I bribed you? She squinted. Kid, I've been doing this job for 5 decades. Unless you can roll back my taxes, there's no way you're bribing me out of this existential spiral. Izuku blinked. Apply modifier, recovery_girl.age 24. Restore. Power_levels.vintage_on. Add buff, hair_volume +5. Apply aura, medical_icon, hot_doctor_edition. White heavy checkmark modifier applied. A green pulse swept over her. Her cane fell. Wrinkles faded. Muscles reshaped. Her lab coat billowed. Her entire body glowed with unholy youth and good hair. She caught her reflection in a medbot panel. Blinked. Oh my god, I have ankles again. Pepe barked twice, then bowed. Izuku grinned. I figured if I'm going to mess with biology, I should start with someone I trust. She flexed her fingers. A faint chime played. She looked at him. I'm still writing you up for gross metaphysical misconduct. Fair. But. She smirked. After I go dancing tonight and snap the spine of age itself. She tossed him a lollipop and winked. Get out before I test these knees on you. Pepe was already rolling away. Izuku followed. Outside the tent, Izuku turned to leave. Pepe at his side. Uraraka waved from the steps. Exam status, complete. Reputation, Techno-Jesus. Next objective, await results. And maybe text her back without having a panic attack. The sun had already dipped below the horizon, painting Muzutafu in streaks of indigo and neon. Izuku walked the long road home, uniform dusty, nerves fried, bones still vibrating from the residual effects of Pepe Fusion Rider mode. Pepe trotted beside him, singed but cheerful, whirring Morse code to the rhythm of a lo-fi hero theme. Energy level, 23%. Mood, wistful hero.exe cooling down. Izuku sighed. Not bad for a day that started with me eating robot hair and ended with turning a flip phone into a dog-themed AI assistant. Pepe barked once. Proud. They turned down a quiet street near a construction site. Fewer pedestrians. Less noise. And that's when they heard it. Sniffling. Not the stub-toe kind. Not the someone took the last pudding kind. This was deeper. Trembling. The kind of cry that comes from something broken and trying not to fall apart. Izuku froze. Pepe stopped. Tail lowered. Sensors twitched. Alert. Unknown presence. 12 meters alley non-hostile distress level. Critical. They turned toward a narrow alley. Trash bins. Graffiti. One flickering bulb above a girl curled into herself beside a dumpster. School uniform torn. Blood on her sleeves. Her hands trembled. That I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to. Izuku stepped forward, voice soft. Hey, are you okay? Do you need help? She didn't look up. I just wanted to be normal. I just wanted him to like me. His HUD tried to scan, but the data scrambled. Entity, unknown. Possible match, Toga, Himiko, student. Quirk, transformation, blood activated. Status, unstable memory fragment active. Pepe's tail stopped squeaking. Her body shivered. She was back at her desk. Drawing hearts. Thinking of him. She didn't mean to do it. Didn't mean to taste blood. Didn't mean to watch the light leave his eyes. She just wanted someone to like her back. Her voice cracked in the dark. I didn't mean to kill him. I liked him. Her golden eyes rose to meet Izuku's. That you're not scared of me? The alley was dark. Not the edgy kind of dark. The real kind. The kind where hope curled up behind a dumpster and forgot how to breathe. And there she was. Toga Himiko. A girl full of instincts, trauma, and barely repressed affection for knives. Knees pulled to her chest. School uniform ruined. Sleeves damp with someone else's blood. You're not scared of me? Izuku Midoriya tilted his head. No, he said simply. But give me a second while I try to help you. He tapped the air beside him. A glowing console materialized, casting green light on the cracked pavement. Reconstruct memory under Skog. Himiko.toga. Error. File corrupted, memory fogged. Suggested fix. Hug her. You're cold, he said gently. Toga blinked. Her eyes were glassy and wild. I killed him. I liked him. And I still wanted more. Izuku crouched. I believe you. You what? I believe you, he repeated. Also, I just looked at the emotional data signature in your quirk. You're not evil. You're just formatted to love in a different way, and it should not be considered weird. Pepe barked. Toga flinched. Looked up. Oh, pug. Pepe rolled forward, tail squeaking, faceplate displaying a tiny colon. He speaks Morse, Izuku explained. There was silence. Her lip trembled. I'm not a villain yet. But I feel like I'm burning inside. My body wants to keep doing it again and again. I feel nauseous. I know that is not something that I'm doing consciously, but I feel like I was born wrong. Izuku stood. Well, good news. He raised his hands dramatically. His HUD flickered to life. Because I'm about to erase the part of the world that said you were wrong. Edit. Toga_Himiko.status, registered Quirk student. Edit. Quirk, hemodynamic Quirk transfer, affection protocol version 2.0. Change. Herndifta Midoriya green. Apply. Fire, innocent cinnamon roll. Forge _documents. ID, birth certificate, UA transfer form. Set _guardian, Midoriya.inko. White heavy checkmark paperwork filed with fakegov.jp. Toga just stared. You what? Izuku offered her a hand. I can't fix the past. But I can give you a save point. Pepe barked once. Loudly. It echoed off the alley walls like a church bell of support animal approval. Speech balloon, backup created. System Toga.exe now running in protected mode. Toga blinked. Do I get to keep my name? You can choose whatever name you want. I think I'll keep it. Izuku smiled. Welcome to the Midoriya family. It's small, weird, and emotionally available. Pepe word. His side panel opened, printing a fresh UA transfer student ID with the name. Midoriya Himiko. Class, support course, pending reassignment. Quirk, hemodynamic quirk transfer. Guardian, Midoriya Inko. Status, absolutely not a threat. 10 minutes later. Outside the nearest convenience store. Izuku adjusted her new school uniform hacked together by Peppy's onboard sewing module. It sparkled faintly. Her new hair Midoriya green waved with physics engine perfection. She blinked into a mirror. I look like I'd get fan art. You do now, Izuku said. Peppy's already submitted some. Pepe barked. An image appeared on the screen of a doodled Himiko, smiling in a flower crown. The caption. Emotional gremlin drop of blood now 82% less murder. UA, Principal's office. Nizu squinted at his monitor. Himiko Midoriya? Aizawa blinked. That's not a student we accepted. Nizu opened the profile. Transferred from the Emotional Correctional Academy for Misaligned Hearts under guardianship of Midoriya Inko. Aizawa deadpanned. But not real, he does not have a sister. Neither is half the stuff he's doing to the fabric of reality, but I think he has the power to decide what is real, Nizu replied, tail twitching. Just roll with it. Midoriya living room, 1 hour later. Inko Midoriya blinked at the girl sitting primly on her couch with freshly pressed paperwork, Midoriya green hair, and the aura of someone who would cry if she dropped a cookie. So, this is Himiko? Yes, Mom, Izuku said, smiling far too calmly. She's your new legal ward. Inko blinked again. You adopted a child? Technically, he replied, you adopted her. I just forged the documents and assigned them to your name so it wouldn't look like a teenager was hacking the National Family Registry. Himiko raised a hand timidly. Hi. I'm emotionally unstable, but really good at folding laundry and I haven't stabbed anything in like 3 hours. Inko's eye twitched. She opened her mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. I see. She turned, slowly, toward her son. Izuku, sweetie, the last time I checked, you didn't have a quirk and were picking up bottle caps on a beach with Mr. Toshinori. And now you're warping reality and casually recruiting anime villains into our tax records. Before Izuku could answer, there was a knock at the door. Coming, he said brightly, rushing to answer it like this wasn't a perfectly reasonable mental breakdown opportunity for his mother. The door opened to reveal All Might, still in his casual disguise, but radiating enough power to fry a street lamp by standing near it. Inko's eye twitched again. She looked him up and down. Then looked at the still glowing screen in her son's hands. Then back at the man in the doorway. I think, she said slowly, voice deceptively calm, you have some explaining to do, Mr. Toshinori. All Might bowed, sheepish and slightly terrified. Ma'am, your son may have, evolved. Inko crossed her arms. The glowing floating console in her living room let out a cheerful ding. You think? One long explanation later. Izuku was halfway through a third glass of water. Himiko was hugging a pillow like it was a life raft. Pepe was drinking from a teacup with suspicious dignity. Inko's own cup sat untouched. So, she said slowly, you're telling me you inherited a powerful ancient quirk, and you somehow also unlocked access to the source code of reality? Izuku nodded. All Might stepped in again. To be precise, One for All acted as a kind of bootloader. His analytical mind must have interacted with the power in a unique way, possibly catalyzing a dormant mutation. Or maybe reality is just bored and gave him admin rights. Izuku tapped the air beside him and summoned his glowing status window like he was checking his email. Quirk _1 inherited. Quirk _2, system root access, reality rewrite beta. Permissions, God mode. Support device, Pepe.exe. The console pinged gently. Pepe projected a sparkly animation of a rainbow loading bar over it. Inko just stared. Her fingers gripped her teacup so tightly it was slowly warping. As in, my son can change people's biology. Forge digital and physical documents. Heal wounds. Adopt girls off the street and rewrite their legal history. And submit heroic fan art through a smart pug. Pepe wagged his mechanical tail and projected a drawing of All Might surfing on a dolphin through a burning city. There were sparkles. And sunglasses. Inko slowly turned to look at her son. A very long pause. Did you use these godlike powers to clean your room? Izuku opened his mouth. Closed it. Not yet. Inko inhaled. Held it. Then sighed. I'm still proud. Just disappointed in your priorities. Pepe barked in solemn maternal agreement. Izuku turned toward his mentor with a sly smile. By the way, I've been working on something for you. All Might blinked. Young Midoriya, what have you done this time? I'm not giving you your prime form back, Izuku said, grinning wider. All Might raised a brow. I don't need it. You already patched me past that. I'm giving you something better. Izuku tapped midair, fingers dancing across the UI console as glowing green codes snapped into place like divine Lego blocks. Enable, instant wherever limitless teleportation range. A surge of golden light enveloped All Might's frame. His skin shimmered faintly with raw kinetic energy. His eyes widened, reflecting a ripple of something ancient like his heroic instincts had just been plugged into the world's emergency alert system. I can teleport, he whispered, to any emergency? Izuku nodded. Only if you feel it in your heart. All Might placed a hand on his chest. His fingers trembled just slightly. Young Midoriya, you've created the literal hero hotline. Pepe barked once loud, proud, and definitely in agreement. His tail squeaked with patriotic fervor. Izuku's grin went full chaotic good. I call it, Call Might. All Might inhaled slowly, emotional. That's beautiful. In the background, Inko Midoriya clapped with the kind of mom pride usually reserved for Nobel Prizes and flawless bento presentation. At the same time, her eye twitched violently as she whispered to herself. He just gave a man the power to defy physics and teleport using feelings. My son is rewriting the world like a Word document. Then louder, trademark it. Make shirts. Pepe projected the first design. All Might giving a thumbs up, captioned. Call Might he feels you. Available in S, M, L, and Legendary. Later that night, Himiko sat curled on the couch with a mug of cocoa clasped in both hands, her fingers warm for the first time in what felt like years. Pepe had knitted her a scarf from digital yarn, mostly to keep her busy. Is this really okay? She whispered, staring at the steam. Me being here? Inko, now emotionally exhausted but too proud to stop, gently set down a fresh tray of cookies. If my son thinks the world is worth rewriting for you, she said softly, then you're already family. Himiko blinked, eyes wide. Pepe barked once. His projector lit up on the living room wall. Speech balloon family status, locked in. Izuku leaned back into the couch, hoodie rumpled, console fading to a gentle glow as his HUD dimmed for the night. He exhaled. Welcome home, Himiko. She wiped her eyes quickly and gave the smallest, most fragile smile, one that said, I'm not healed. But maybe I'm safe. The screen flickered in the corner of his vision. Objective complete. Adopt.exe. New quest unlocked. 2 weeks later. Notification. Exam results now available. Izuku sat at his desk, back straight, hands weirdly clammy. Pepe hovered beside him with a juice box and emotional support squeaks on standby. He clicked the holographic envelope. All Might's pre-recorded message began, except it wasn't pre-recorded. It was a live feed. All Might looked slightly nervous. Midoriya, my boy, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. You obviously passed, but I think that you should know this, so we need to talk. Izuku's HUD began syncing the data before the message was over. Exam report. Combat points, 117. Rescue points, 34. Total, 151. All Might record, year 2XXX 120. New record holder, Midoriya Izuku. Status, accepted to you. The air went completely still. II broke his record? Izuku whispered. All Might's eyes softened in the feed. You didn't mean to. You stopped because you didn't want to. And that's exactly why you deserve to. Izuku just stared at the screen. Pepe placed a paw on his leg and beeped gently. Izuku's voice cracked. I didn't want to erase your legacy. Inko entered the room holding a tray of celebratory cupcakes, then saw his face and paused. Sweetie. He sniffled once and smiled, pained but proud. I think I accidentally out-heroed All Might. Inko blinked. Then walked over, gently placing the tray down and kissing his forehead. Well, she whispered, you're my legacy now. All Might decided that it was a good moment to help him calm down. Midoriya. If this ever gets too heavy, remember you didn't erase my legacy. You continued it. And then rewrote it in a better font. That you're not standing in my shadow. You built your own light while you made mine even brighter. And that's what a real hero does. Pepe projected a silent message beside them. Speech balloon achievement unlocked. Accidentally the best. That night, Izuku sat on his bed, legs tangled in blankets, Pepe snoozing on the floor with his head on a charger cable. He hesitated for a second, then opened a message window. Compose, Uraraka.Ochako. Speech balloon, hey! I just got my results. Did you get yours too? Speech balloon, also, I hope you're okay. That 0-pointer nearly gave me a heart attack. 3 dots appeared. Speech balloon, I got in loudly crying face sparkling heart. Speech balloon combat points, 42. Can you believe it? Speech balloon, and 18 rescue points. Nizu said I was one of the few who stopped to help during the chaos pleading face. I didn't even realize it counted. Izuku smiled wide, heart pounding for reasons that weren't entirely rational. He replied, Speech balloon, you earned every point. I just helped with aim. Grinning face was wet. Speech balloon, you had the instincts. That's what matters. Speech balloon, congrats, future classmate Greenheart. More dots. Speech balloon, thank you. Really? Speech balloon, we're gonna do great, you and me. Smiling face with smiling eyes. Speech balloon, kiss. Your pug scares me a little. Speech balloon, PPS. But he also gave me a digital sticker pack with your face. So I forgive him. Izuku turned a little pink. He looked at the sticker. It was a chibi version of him giving a thumbs up. It sparkled. The caption read, Deku approves floppy disk collision. The hallway buzzed with nervous energy as new students shuffled past gleaming glass doors and polished tile floors. Izuku Midoriya walked beside Ochako Uraraka, both in their new UA uniforms. Can you believe it? Ochako grinned, bouncing slightly. We're actually here. Yay hi. First day. It almost feels like we hacked into someone else's dream. Izuku laughed softly. Yeah, well, I guess it's my dream. But it's definitely modded now. Modded? Ochako asked. Pepe rolled along behind them like an emotionally supportive Roomba. His screen flashed, speech balloon world file, system under surveillance, active white heavy checkmark. They stepped into class 1A. And it was already chaos. Katsuki Bakugo was mid-scream, finger in Tenya Ida's face. You wanna correct me again, Four Eyes? Say one more syllable and I'll turn you into a bonfire with a god complex. Ida looked visibly offended but kept his posture tight, arms folded in stern formality. Izuku sighed. He's already combusting. That's a new record, he whispered to Uraraka. That's your childhood friend, right? She asked. That's a strong word, Izuku replied. Bakugo turned. His eyes locked onto Izuku and he froze. Then his jaw tightened. His fingers sparked. You, Bakugo growled. Me. Izuku answered. How the hell did you get in? Bakugo's voice rose. You don't even have a quirk. What did you do? Cheat your way in? Lie on the test? Hack your way into the leaderboard? Pepe let out a squeaky warning bark. Bakugo snarled, stepping forward. Say something, Deku. Say something before he swung. A full-on, right hook explosion prepped punch. Fast, mean, and absolutely illegal. It never landed. In a blur of movement, Uraraka stepped forward and slapped her open palm into Bakugo's gut. Her quirk activated mid-spin. She twisted her hips, lifted him with zero gravity, and threw him to the ground like a pro wrestler with a physics degree. Bakugo hit the tile floor with a thunk and a winded grunt. Back off, Ochako said, dead serious. Why you crazy? You'll regret that. Bakugo wheezed. He surged up again, gauntlets sparking. I'll kill. If you take one more step, I'll erase your quirk and throw you off campus myself. The room went dead quiet. From the corner of the classroom, where no one had noticed before, a yellow sleeping bag uncoiled like a snake in a hoodie. Hair like dry ramen, half-lidded eyes, and a complete aura of, I am so done with everything. Aizawa Shoyuda, the eraser head, yawned mid-death glare. You're Katsuki Bakugo, right? He said dryly. Yeah. I read your file. 0 rescue points. Total lack of teamwork. Power-focused. Blinding arrogance. Tisich, Bakugo scoffed. You may have strong offensive capabilities, Aizawa continued, but the world doesn't need another walking bomb with an ego problem. He turned to Ochako. As for you, he paused. Eyes landed on Uraraka, who stood firm, fists clenched but calm. Aizawa sighed. You didn't strike first. You protected a classmate. That's what a hero does. He stood fully. This is UA High. If anyone's confused about what that means, I'll make it simple. He stepped forward, pulling out a tablet, already loading the file. You're not here to fight each other. You're here to prove that you can fight for others. If that doesn't click soon, you'll be expelled before the next bell rings. Bakugo said nothing. The class stared. Ochako cracked her knuckles. So, how was that for an entrance? She grinned at Izuku. Izuku blinked in awe. Remind me never to upset you. Uraraka cracked her knuckles with a little bounce, like she'd just finished folding a fitted sheet perfectly on the first try. Izuku blinked, caught somewhere between awe and shock-induced system reboot. Uraraka, that was incredible. Seriously, he said, voice soft and filled with genuine wonder. The way you moved. It wasn't just your quirk. That was pure skill. He rubbed the back of his neck, a faint blush loading across his cheeks like a poorly optimized shader. I mean, I knew you were strong, but seeing it up close, I'm really glad you were there. Ochako's confident smirk softened into something warmer, a little shy. Just enough pink hit her cheeks to suggest her system clock was running at 101% CPU. Oh, it's nothing special, really. Just some basics. No, it is special, Izuku shook his head earnestly. That takedown was perfect. Smooth, efficient, beautiful, honestly. Phys. Realization.exe launched. Izuku crashed. I mean, efficient. Heroically efficient. Ochako giggled a soft, floaty sound with the same gentle energy as a safety net under a high dive. Well, thanks, Izuku. That means a lot coming from you. She flexed her fingers lightly, gaze drifting off in fond memory. My parents run a small construction company back home. Money was always tight for stuff like dojos, but my dad? He always said the best quirk is one you can use with your body, not instead of it. So he taught me judo and aikido when I was like, said if I could float bricks, I should know how to throw someone through them. She mimed a gentle throw, like a ghost of the one she'd used on Bakugo. Lots of rice sacks. And uncles. Lots of uncles. Since you were 5? Izuku was genuinely amazed. That's incredible. No wonder you move like water finding its path. He looked down at his own hands, flexing them slightly. Then back to her, quieter, words heavier. Thank you. For stepping in. For being you. Ochako's blush intensified, matching his imperfect chromatic sync. Anytime, Izuku. Partners look out for each other, right? Their eyes locked. Brown met green. It held briefly. A bit too long for casual. Peppy's screen briefly flickered. Speech balloon, emotional subroutine, loading romance subplot. And then Aizawa cleared his throat loudly. Enough admiring each other's combat prowess. Find your seats. The real work begins. His voice cut through the tension like a sleep-deprived guillotine. He gestured lazily with his tablet toward the open desks, his hair still partially defying gravity in bed mode. But his eyes sharp beneath the baggy lids flicked toward Uraraka. Not disapproving. Evaluating. Filing that takedown away under noted. Uraraka. Midoriya. Sit. Izuku and Ochako both jumped like kids caught whispering in a library. Hero school. Totally a normal day, Izuku muttered under his breath. Don't worry. You'll get used to weird, Ochako smiled as they sat. They moved quickly to 2 open seats near the front, Pepe squeaking and whirring along behind them like a smug emotional support drone. Behind them, still grounded and gritting his teeth, Bakugo burned. Rage curdled in his throat like it was fermenting into napalm. His knuckles clenched around his pride like it was a grenade pin he wanted to pull. He glared daggers at Izuku's and Uraraka's backs. The message was clear, this wasn't over. But as he sat alone, fuming, and bruised, it was clear to everyone else in the room. He'd already lost round 1. Aizawa addressed the class. Okay everyone, today will not be just a slow and boring presentation for Nizu to be talking for 4 hours. You're having a quirk apprehension test. Now go on to the changing rooms and put on your practice uniform. Quirk apprehension field. Aizawa stood monotone, holding a tablet. Alright, first day. Let's see what you're all actually good for. This is the quirk apprehension test. You'll do 8 basic physical assessments. Grip strength, side steps, standing long jump, etc. Except now, you get to use your quirks. Or you fail. Whispers broke out immediately. Sounds manly. Kirishima pumped. Minetta sweated. Do we have to use all of our quirks? Asking for a friend. Yaoyorozu calmly adjusted her uniform. Quirk-enhanced diagnostics. Makes perfect sense. Objective metrics only. Aizawa scrolled on his tablet like he was checking his emails during a funeral. The one who comes in last overall? Expelled. The class froze. W8 what? On the first day? Mina panicked. That's illegal, right? Zero exclaimed. Ida adjusted his glasses furiously. Surely UA would not. Life's unfair, Aizawa cut in cold. Heroes need to deal with unfair. Don't like it? There's the gate. Bakugo scoffed so loud it echoed. Tisich, whatever. I'll just win this like everything else. He grinned like a grenade. Aizawa tapped his tablet and pointed. Bakugo. Ball throw. You're first. Standard P rules, just use your quirk. Aizawa knew Diamond well that Izuku was the first on the entrance exam, but he wanted to keep that reality bending and random things for later. Bakugo stepped into the circle, cracking his knuckles. Watch this, extras. He grabbed the ball, his hand lighting up with sparks, then hurled it like a fireball cannon. The air rippled as the explosion propelled throw soared into the sky. Device, 725.8 meters. Dude! Kaminari yelled. Holy crap! Ashido gasped. I'm doomed, Minetta whimpered. Bakugo turned, smug oozing from every pore. He glared directly at Izuku. Let's see you fake that, Deku. Aizawa scribbled something on the tablet, then pointed. Uraraka. You're up. Ochako took the ball with a little bounce in her step. She exhaled once, planted her feet, and flicked it into the sky. Release. The ball floated upward like a happy balloon until it left Earth's atmosphere. Device, infinity, flashing, then crashing slightly. She just broke the physics, Kaminari laughed nervously. Ochako turned and gave Izuku a thumbs up. Takes practice, she said cheerfully. Jiraiya grinned, stretching. Alright, my turn. She stepped up, set the ball down, and injected her jacks to the ground. A sonic boom detonated under the ball, launching it in a screaming arc. Device, 341.2 meters. Sound propulsion, Jiraiya said, dusting her hands. Next was Momo. She calmly produced a perfectly weighted carbon fiber throwing gauntlet and slipped it on. Angle, rotation, compensation wind factor, she said softly. She lobbed it gracefully. The ball flew like it had a flight plan. Device, 502.6 meters. Man, everyone here's a beast, Kirishima noted. Aizawa glanced up. Midoriya. You're next. Izuku stepped forward. You gonna pretend again, Deku? Bakugo sneered loudly. Izuku tilted his head, smiled kindly. No pretending. Just testing the gravitational limits of a mid-range carbon sphere. He picked up the ball. Quietly he said, just one for all this time. Nothing else. Pepe beeped nervously. Speech balloon, warning, stratosphere breach imminent. Izuku? Uraraka asked softly. He shifted his stance. Green lightning crackled up his arm. Calmly he said, Detroit. Satellite. Throw. He still screamed it in his mind. He whipped the ball with a motion so clean it sounded like reality blinked. The air detonated behind it. The ball streaked past the clouds and kept going. Every radar within 10 kilometers pinged. The ISS probably had a new moon. Device. Infinity. Silence. Did he just? Ashido sputtered. He threw a ball into outer space? Ciro yelled. I can't even throw it past my ex's house, Minetta sobbed. Since first glance I know that you don't have an ex, Minetta, Kaminari retorted. Bakugo stood still. For once, he had no snark. Just twitching. What the hell? Was that? He growled through clenched teeth. Aizawa was nonchalant. Midoriya's allowed to use his quirk here. That was what he did. The tablet dinged again. Pepe projected a live space feed of the ball floating past a weather satellite. Speech balloon, new record, astronomical. Was that too much? I calibrated for low orbit. Izuku blushed slightly. You calibrated? Uraraka stared at him like he was a miracle with hair. Aizawa scribbled again. Test continues. Next event, 50-meter dash. Let's see if anyone else can break causality. As the students moved to the next field, Bakugo was still frozen, shaking. Izuku walked by him slowly, whispering, voice low, calm, slightly icy, You don't get to call me a cheat anymore. I'll beat you. I swear I will, Bakugo seethed. Try it, Izuku said quietly without malice. I'm done being your punching bag, Bakugo. Bakugo didn't reply. His pride was already burning. Bakugo saw red and a little green. You owe me a fee explanation, Deku. You are worthless. You are supposed to be a crying beach. And on top of all that, you don't have a quirk. Without warning, Bakugo lunged. A full-bodied charge, sparks cracking off his palms. A wild right hook, already exploding mid-swing. You think you're better than me now? But Izuku was gone. Just gone. A breeze. A shimmer of green lightning. Bakugo's punch hit empty air and before his brain caught up, Izuku was already behind him. The flash. Izuku didn't even flinch. He planted a controlled flick of one for all into his first punch straight to Bakugo's gut. Bakugo's eyes bulged. His breath exploded from his lungs. He folded in half, then came the second. Izuku's elbow snapped upward in a blinding blur. Bakugo flew. Spun. Hit the ground hard enough to dig a trench. He lay still. Groaning. Izuku stepped over him quietly. That's for 10 years of pushing me down. He grabbed Bakugo's collar, dragged him upright like a sack of hot and wet garbage, and walked calmly toward Aizawa, who hadn't moved. Here, Izuku's voice was flat. I found a safety risk on the field. I did not break anything. If he goes to Recovery Girl, he should be able to finish the test. Aizawa raised an eyebrow. You two done playing trauma tag? I've been done for years, Izuku said, genuinely tired. Aizawa hummed thoughtfully. He turned to Bakugo. You're on thin ice. Villain points in the entrance exam don't mean squat when your first instinct is to attack a classmate over ego twice. Shut up. I'll kill him, Bakugo wheezed, barely upright. Say that one more time, Aizawa said dryly. I'll make expulsion sound like a mercy. The class stared. Dead silence. Midoriya just dropped him in 2 hits, Mina whispered. I blinked and Bakugo was already on the ground, Jiru observed. Tokoyami nodded. Truly, a majestic beatdown. You didn't even look serious, Ochako said softly, but very impressed. That was me holding back, Izuku stated, dusting off his sleeves and looking straight ahead. Pepe beeped softly and projected a tooltip on the field wall. Speech balloon, achievement unlocked. Put Kakin in the trash where he belongs. The test continued without Bakugo for a while, and when he did come back he did not perform very well. 40 minutes later, Aizawa stood dryly, holding a tablet. Here are the test results in a list. I don't want to read all of that. Final scores, Class 1 IT. Rank name notes. Keycap 1 Midoriya Izuku. Keycap 2 Todoroki Shoto. Keycap 3 Ida Tenya. Frajutsu 5 Uraraka Ochako. 6 Kirishima Ijiro. 7 Jirokyoka. 8 Yaoyorozu Momo. 9 Kaminari Denki. 10 Bakugo Katsuki. 11 Fumikage Tokoyami. 12 Siro Hanta. 13 Shoji Mizo. 14 Ojiro Mashireo. 15 Koji Koda. 16 Aoyama Yuga. 17 Sato Rikido. 18 Mina Ishido. 19 Hagakure Toru. Skull and Crossbones, Minetta Minoru. Aizawa flipped through his tablet calmly. Before anyone panics, no one is getting expelled today. That threat? It was a logical bluff. He looked at the class. You lot were far too eager and needed to take this seriously. Fear's a good motivator. It worked. Most of you put out acceptable numbers. A few of you, his eyes lingered on Izuku, Ochako, Momo, and Jire, put out exceptional ones. He turned to the class fully, arms crossed. Remember, raw power doesn't make a hero. Mentality, restraint, instincts, and cooperation do. This wasn't about who can break the ground harder, it was about who understands the battlefield. He turned to Bakugo directly. And before anyone complains, winning a brawl doesn't mean you win the war. Losing control disqualifies you. Don't forget that. Bakugo twitched. Ochako smirked. UA locker rooms, post-Quirk test. The class had mostly dispersed after the Quirk apprehension test, murmuring about lunch and comparing new bruises. The boys' changing room buzzed faintly with tired laughter and the hiss of showers. Izuku stood at his locker, towel slung around his shoulders, still processing the numbers on his HUD. Okay, but seriously, Izuku said to Pepe. Infinity? I thought I capped the throw at suborbital velocity. Pepe word. Speech balloon, trajectory, galactic probation zone engaged. Then Jiro's voice echoed from the other room, furious, yelling through the wall. You little creep, that's not ventilation ducts, it's a diamond camera slot. Cover it. Block it. He's spying on us. Yaoyorozu called off-screen. Minetta-chan, Rip, you're about to regret being born, so you said. Coldly. I'll make him float into the sun, Uraraka added off-screen, deadpan. The room froze. Kirishima blinked. Wait, someone's peeping? He frowned. Pepe's faceplate flashed red. Speech balloon, pervert detected. Izuku turned. Slowly. Mechanically. Expression blank. Where is he? He asked calmly, to no one in particular. I think Minetta snuck behind the lockers? Right before the yelling started, Kaminari pointed. A faint giggle came from behind a laundry bin. Hey, they'll never prove anything. I was just checking for structural weaknesses. For hero training. Minetta snickered. He didn't finish. Because Izuku was already there. In an instant. One flicker of green lightning. One moment of wrong place, wrong lifetime. You tried to spy on our classmates. Izuku's voice was dangerously calm. Minetta blinked nervously. It was just a peek. A guy thing. Lighten up, Izuku. The air around Izuku distorted. The smile faded. You don't get to use my name, Izuku said, quiet and cold. And this isn't just a guy thing. It's disrespect. It's violation. And it's over. He grabbed Minetta by the collar. Pepe beeped an ominous tone. Speech balloon, conduct violation flagged. Sleaze attack, initiating manual punishment protocol. Then came the punch. It wasn't a Quirk-enhanced smash. Just raw, discipline motion. Izuku's fist collided with Minetta's face with the clinical efficiency of a programmed command. Minetta squealed. His entire body pinged off the bench and hit the floor with a splat. I'm sorry I didn't mean it. It was just... Minetta sobbed. He peed himself. Right there on the tile. Pepe beeped and deployed a sensor to block the stream. Speech balloon, warning, Fluid compromised. Ejecting trash file. Aizawa appeared in the doorway. His hair was already floating. His scarf shifted. He had heard everything. Midoriya. Stand down. His voice was like a guillotine blade. Izuku released Minetta and stepped back without hesitation. Aizawa glared at Minetta. I warned every student in the handbook, zero tolerance for SXL misconduct. You're done here. It was just a look. Minetta sniveled. And that look cost you your spot, Aizawa stated flatly. Pack your things. He turned to Jairu, who had marched in with Tsuyu, Yaoyorozu, and Uraraka behind her. You for good. Now we are, Jairu said, arms crossed. Uraraka looked at Izuku, then at Minetta. She exhaled. Thanks for handling it before I dropped him through the floor. Just did what a partner should, Izuku shrugged slightly. Not gonna lie. That was very cool, Jairu grinned. I mean it was kinda badass, Kaminari added nervously. Aizawa sighed, tapping his tablet. Minoru Minetta. Expelled for gross misconduct and harassment. Hero course, not for creeps. He looked at the class firmly. Let this be a warning. Heroism is not compatible with perversion, abuse, or disrespect. He looked at the blonde TNT, Bakugo, for a second. Anyone else thinking of trying something? Don't. Silence. Everyone nodded. Peppy's screen flashed. Speech balloon, Minetta X, permanently uninstalled white heavy checkmark. Classroom 1A, evening light. The classroom was almost empty. Desks gleamed faintly in the early sunset. The floor was spotless. Most students had already left, their chatter fading down the halls. Only two remained. Ochako Uraraka sat on the windowsill, hugging her knees, eyes tracking the orange clouds outside. Izuku stood quietly nearby, holding a fresh towel over his shoulders. Pepe whirred softly at his feet, rebooting from incident control mode. There was silence for a while. A safe kind of silence. Then Ochako spoke softly, I still can't believe he tried that. Minetta. She clenched her hands in her lap. And Bakugo. What the hell is wrong with some people? Izuku sat down at the desk across from her, elbows resting on the surface, gaze heavy with thought. Gently, he said, I think some people just rot from the inside. Especially when no one ever tells them to stop. And no one did they? Ochako's eyes flicked to him. Back then? For you? He didn't respond. She tilted her head. Izuku. You were calm. Focused. But the second Bakugo came at you. She trailed off. You moved like something snapped. He looked away. A tiny window opened in reality between them, a floating rectangle, glowing green like his console UI. It was small. Private. Let me show you, Izuku said softly. Only if you want. Ochako stared at it. Then nodded. He tapped the air. A silent flood of memories downloaded directly into her mind, wrapped in protective compression, gentle, curated to only show what needed to be shown. A school hallway. Slamming lockers. Laughter that cut like razors. Bakugo's sneer. A familiar voice. Why are you even here, Deku? Want a quirk? Take a swan dive off the roof and pray you're born better next time. Another clip. Izuku hunched over notebooks, bruises down his arms, pages filled with quirk notes. No praise. No thanks. Just isolation and pain. Then more. 10 years of it. Dismissal. Mockery. Bakugo's explosions in his face. Teachers ignoring it. The screen blinked out. Ochako sat frozen. Her fists were clenched. Her face red, not with embarrassment, but fury. Jaw tight. Voice trembling. He said that to you? Izuku nodded once. Quiet. And they just let him? For years. Ochako's voice rose. I didn't show you that to make you angry, Izuku said carefully. I just wanted you to understand. Why I hit back today. Why I didn't hold back. He looked at her, eyes serious. I'm not a pacifist. Not anymore. Not when it comes to people who prey on others. She stood. Walked over. Sat across from him. Her eyes didn't soften. Good, she said firmly. He deserved it. He deserves more. She swallowed. Then added quietly, I don't think I've ever hated anyone before. But Bakugo? After what I saw, I think I might. You don't have to, Izuku said gently. I'll carry that part. She shook her head. No. You carried it alone long enough. They sat in silence again. Closer. The sun dipped lower, bathing the room in amber light. Pepe beeped softly, projecting a quiet caption. Speech balloon, new party status, linked red heart, green square. Thank you, Izuku whispered. For trusting me. For today. Ochako smiled just barely. Anytime, Izuku, she said gently. You saved me too. Their hands almost touched on the desk. The final rays of light spilled over them like the start of something stronger than Quirk's. The air in Class 1A hummed with nervous excitement the next morning, a stark contrast to the previous day's tension. Minetta's conspicuous absence was met with palpable relief, especially among the girls, whose chatter felt lighter, freer. Bakugo brooded near the back, a simmering furnace of resentment, but his explosive commentary remained stifled under the weight of Izuku's recent demonstration. Aizawa, marginally more vertical than his usual sleeping bag impression, shuffled to the front. Costumes, he announced, the word landing like a starting pistol. Support department delivered. Gear up. Ground beta in 15. Minimal property damage. Minimal reality warping. His gaze sharpened on Izuku. Understood. A scramble ensued. Students grabbed numbered cases, the clatter of metal and eager voices filling the room. Izuku, however, remained near his desk. He raised a hand, fingers dancing in the air. A complex, glowing green console materialized, code cascading down its surface. Access. Inventory under system. Equip. Here under costume under protocol. Execute. Suppress underscore embroidery. Subroutine. Sorry mom, I will keep a copy of the original. Execute. Optimize underscore tactical underscore performance underscore V3. White heavy checkmark costume underscore. Ready. There was a soft bzzzt and a ripple of displaced air. Izuku's uniform vanished, replaced instantly by the sleek, tactical ensemble from the World Heroes mission, a form-fitting black bodysuit layered with dark gray armored plating across the chest. The respirator mask hung loose, looking more like advanced tech than fabric. The bunny ears were remade. This hood was streamlined, functional, projecting an aura of focused, professional readiness. A tiny, pixelated glitch flickered over the fabric for a nanosecond, the last vestige of Inko's stitching being overwritten before vanishing. Whoa, tactical upgrade. Kaminari whistled, struggling with his case. Looking pro Midoriya? Necessary adjustments, Izuku murmured, adjusting the high collar. His HUD flickered. Status, WM tactical suit online resistance buffs, standby. The locker rooms buzzed with activity. Izuku emerged swiftly, finding a spot near the ground beta entrance. He was subtly overlaying terrain hazards on his HUD when the door hissed open again. Ochako Uraraka stepped out. Her pink and black bodysuit, the gravity-defying spheres gleaming on her fingertips, was unchanged. But seeing it on her, outside the abstract context of a design sheet, it struck Izuku anew. The suit hugged her athletic frame with practical efficiency, the black panels lending a surprising edge to her usual warmth. Her pink helmet was tucked under her arm, revealing her face flushed slightly from changing, auburn hair catching the light. She took a steadying breath, squared her shoulders, and looked down at her gloved hands, a flicker of pure, determined wonder crossing her features. This was real. Izuku's breath hitched. His HUD fuzzed with static. Visual processing, temporary disruption. He stared, wide-eyed. The sleek lines, the focused determination, the way the light played on the polished spheres. It was objectively impressive gear, but on her. Wow, escaped his lips, unfiltered. Ochako's head snapped up. Her eyes met his, surprise melting into a warm, flustered blush. Oh, Izuku, hi. Does it look okay? She did a small, self-conscious turn. Izuku's social protocols crashed. Okay? Uraraka, it's incredible. Strategic. High visibility pink. Streamlined black. Peak functionality. Yes. He nodded vigorously, his face rapidly matching her suit's accents. Social coherence. Critical failure. Pepe whirred happily beside Ochako. His optical sensors scanned her. His faceplate lit up with pixelated explosions and stars, culminating in a bold, glowing banner. Style rating. S-rank fire ultra viable hero aesthetics detected. Ochako laughed, the sound bright, dispelling her fluster. Thanks, Pepe. Glad I passed the expert's test. Pepe Exi has impeccable taste, Jiru stated dryly, stepping out. Her dark purple jumpsuit, open high-collar jacket, and speaker jack boots radiated cool confidence. Her earphone jacks swayed as she adjusted fingerless gloves. Clean. Functional. Lets the sound do the work. No distractions. She gave a sharp nod of approval. Momo emerged next, her posture regal. She wore her signature deep red leotard design, but it looked different. Instead of the large, exposed sections across her torso and upper thighs, the material seemed denser, more like a seamless, full-coverage bodysuit in the same rich red, subtly textured. The stylized gold detailing remained prominent on her chest and belt, which still housed her creation panels. Tall, sturdy boots completed the look. It looked incredibly sophisticated and secure. Support truly excelled, Momo said, a note of genuine relief and satisfaction in her voice. This new biomimetic polymer suit is remarkable. It provides full coverage without compromising lipid accessibility or mobility in the slightest. An ingenious solution. She subtly patted her side, where the suit felt perfectly integrated. Izuku gave a tiny, almost imperceptible nod in her direction, a silent admin acknowledging a successful file transfer. Momo met his gaze briefly, a flicker of profound gratitude in her eyes before her usual composure returned. Looking sharp, Kriati, Kirishima called, flexing. Like high-tech royalty. An exemplary blend of practicality and presentation, Yayarozu-san. Ida added, chopping the air. A significant improvement. As the rest of the class filtered out in their vibrant gear, Izuku's HUD pulsed subtly. Invisible green waves washed over his classmates. Apply _passive _buff. Target _group class _1A. Modify. Impact _resistance plus 15%. Modify. Thermal _regulation plus 10%. Modify. Tensile _strength fabrics plus 20%. Enable. Minor kinetic absorption, threshold, bruising. White heavy checkmark buffs applied. Stealth mode. He watched Kirishima pound his fists with extra vigor, saw Ajui's suit flex seamlessly, noted the lack of stray sparks near Kaminari's skin. His silent safety net was active. Aizawa observed from the shadows, scarf high, eyes missing nothing. He saw the awe for Todoroki's imposing presence, the jitters on Ishido and Kaminari, Ida's readiness. But his focus settled on the group around Midoriya. Kirishima's easy shoulder clap, Jiru's dry comment about Pepe, Uraraka's comfortable closeness, even Todoroki's analytical glance. They weren't just interacting with a classmate. There was a subtle gravity, a quiet deference. They unconsciously oriented towards him, included him, checked his reaction. They didn't just see power. They sensed the unnerving competence, the reality-altering presence. They reacted to him like he was a seasoned pro, a problematic equal. Just another student. Like he's already carrying the license, Aizawa thought, a mix of resignation and reluctant acknowledgement. They feel the admin access. The cheat codes humming under the surface. This class, they're calibrating to a walking paradigm shift. All right, runways closed, Aizawa called, his voice slicing through the chatter. He straightened. Ground beta. Move out. Let's see if your combat skills match your couture. Midoriya? Izuku snapped to attention. Sensei? Aizawa's gaze was flat, but the glint in his tired eyes was unmistakable. Remember the briefing. Assess their capabilities. Your debug menu stays in spectator mode unless the simulation literally starts crashing. Understood? Izuku flushed slightly but nodded firmly. Understood, Sensei. He glanced at Ochako, who gave him another encouraging thumbs up. Pepe projected a tiny eye spectator mode activated onto the ground. As the class moved out, a vibrant wave of potential heading towards their first real heroics trial, Izuku felt the familiar hum of One for All and the deeper thrum of the system. The WHM suit felt like armor. The buffs were live. Admin privileges were dialed down but ready. Time to log some combat data. He took a breath, the high collar of his tactical suit framing his determined face, and followed his classmates into the mock city. Team selection and setup. The air inside the ground beta observation deck crackled with a different kind of energy now. The vibrant spectacle of costumes had faded, replaced by the focused hum of pre-mission tension. Screens displayed the mock city layout, office zone, central plaza, industrial sector, while Aizawa stood before the class, tablet in hand, looking like he'd rather be buried in his sleeping bag. Right? Aizawa droned, his voice cutting through the low murmur. Battle trial. Basic premise: 2 teams per exercise. Heroes infiltrate, secure the weapon, a dummy bomb, within the time limit. Villains defend it. Capture via capture tape or incapacitation. Objective is strategy, quirk application, teamwork. Try not to level, change or rewrite the district. His eyes flickered to Izuku. Especially you. He tapped his tablet. Randomized pairings. A list flashed onto the main screen. Team A, Midoriya Izuku and Uraraka Ochako. Team B, Ashido Mina and Kirishima Aijiro. Team C, Kyuka and Kaminari Denki. Team D, Bakugo Katsuki and Ida Tenya. Team E, Yaoyorozu Momo and Todoroki Shoto. Team F, Azui Tsu and Tokoyami Fumikichi. Team Sato Rikido and Koda Koji. Team H, Ojiro Mashireo and Aoyama Yuga. A collective murmur rose. Ochako beamed, nudging Izuku gently with her elbow. Partners, awesome, she whispered. Izuku flushed slightly, a determined smile forming beneath his respirator. Team status, optimal synergy detected. Pepe whirred approvingly at their feet. Kaminari pumped a fist. Alright, jamming time with the Queen of Cool. Jairu rolled her eyes but offered a tiny smirk. He was not her type, or gender, but she agrees with his opinion. Try not to fry your own brain before we get to the villains, Sparky. Ashido and Kirishima high-fived. Acid and hardening. Unstoppable offensive combo. Kirishima declared, sharpening his knuckles. Ida, however, stiffened visibly. His gaze slid towards Bakugo, who was radiating pure, incandescent fury, his gauntlets already sparking faintly. Ida adjusted his glasses, his expression tight with unease. Momo and Todoroki exchanged a brief, silent nod, an unspoken understanding between powerhouses. Tsu croaked softly, stealth and shadow ribbit. Good combo. Tokoyami merely inclined his head, dark shadow coiling excitedly within him. Indeed. The darkness shall prevail. Bakisita began, his voice clipped and formal as he approached Bakugo, who was practically vibrating. We should strategize. Our objective is infiltration and retrieval or defense against formidable opponents. We must coordinate our approach. Shut it, glasses. Bakugo snarled, whirling on him, sparks popping violently from his palms. Strategy? Against Deku? The only strategy is finding that cheat and blowing him into next week before he can pull any of his admin bullshit. Ida recoiled slightly, not from fear of the sparks, but from the raw, unhinged hatred in Bakugo's voice. He straightened, his own expression hardening. Bakugo-san, he stated, his voice low and intense. This fixation is illogical and detrimental. Midoriya-kun has done nothing to warrant this level of hostility during a training exercise. He poses no direct threat to you unless provoked. But why do you despise him so deeply? Bakugo's eyes widened, then narrowed into slits of crimson fury. His voice dropped to a guttural rasp, trembling with suppressed rage. Done nothing? He lied. For years. He played the sniveling, quirkless weakling, letting me think he was nothing. Just so he could humiliate me now. He hid that power like a coward, waiting to rub my face in it. He thinks he's better. Spittle flew as he leaned into Ida's space. He cheated his way into being something he's not. And I'm gonna prove it. I'll shatter that smug, admin-hacking face and show everyone he's still just worthless Deku. Ida stared at him, aghast. The sheer venom, the twisted perception, the complete dismissal of Izuku's journey or character. It was horrifying. He saw not just anger, but a profound, festering wound warping Bakugo's entire worldview. That is not heroism, Bakugo-san, Ida said, his voice tight with disapproval and a dawning sense of alarm. That is hatred. And it has no place here. Before Bakugo could explode further, a sudden rush of wind and a flash of golden light filled the observation deck near the teacher's station. All Might appeared, not in a puff of smoke, but as if he'd simply stepped through a fold in the air, his vibrant costume pristine. He glanced at a wrist device that hadn't been there a second ago. Apologies. Minor landslide simulation malfunction in Training Ground Gamma. Needed a quick patch. All students secure. He beamed, completely oblivious to the tension he'd just teleported into. Young Midoriya. Excellent costume choice. Very tactical. Izuku managed a weak wave. Thanks, All Might. Aizawa didn't even flinch at the teleportation. He just sighed, long and suffering, and turned his deadpan gaze towards All Might, jerking his chin subtly towards the still fuming Bakugo. See that? All Might's smile faltered slightly as he followed Aizawa's gaze. He saw Bakugo's hunched shoulders, the white-knuckled grip on his gauntlets, the palpable waves of fury rolling off him even from across the room, directed squarely at Izuku. The symbol of peace's expression sobered into deep concern. He leaned closer to Aizawa, his voice low. Young Bakugo. His spirit burns fiercely, but this intensity. How close is too close, Aizawa-kun? Aizawa didn't look away from Bakugo. His voice was flat, devoid of judgment but heavy with grim certainty. Kids looks like he is one bad day, one perceived slight from Midoriya breathing wrong, away from full villain monologuing and trying to level a city block. The fixation's pathological. He's not competing. He's crusading. He finally glanced at All Might. Keep an eye on Midoriya. And pray ground beta's structural integrity holds. All Might's jaw tightened. He looked from Bakugo, a pressure cooker of rage and resentment, to Izuku, who was quietly discussing infiltration and defense angles with Uraraka, his expression focused and earnest. The contrast was stark, painful. The weight of legacy felt suddenly heavier, laced with a new, sharp worry. He gave Aizawa a single, grim nod. The unspoken understanding passed between them. This wasn't just a training exercise anymore. This was a powder keg, and Bakugo Katsuki was holding the mash. Ball draw and villain setup. The tension in the observation deck thickened as All Might stepped forward, holding a simple cardboard box filled with numbered ball. Random selection for the first match. He boomed, his usual smile slightly strained after witnessing Bakugo's outburst. Reach in Young Heroes and Villains. Fate decides your opponents. One by one, representatives from each team drew. Ball, Heroes, Midoriya and Uraraka versus Ball, Villains, Bakugo and Ida. All Might held up the results. First match, Hero Team A, Midoriya and Uraraka, versus Villain Team D, Bakugo and Ida. Villain Team D, you have 5 minutes to enter the building and prepare your defense. Hero Team A, stand by. Bakugo didn't wait. He stormed towards the exit leading to Ground Beta's mock cityscape, a trail of angry sparks marking his path. Just get out of my way, glasses, he snarled at Ida, who followed with rigid, disapproving steps, already mentally drafting a formal complaint about unprofessional conduct. Izuku and Ochako huddled near a monitor showing the building's blueprints. Okay, Izuku murmured, his voice low and focused beneath the respirator of his suit. Bakugo will be hyper-focused on me. He'll see you as secondary, an obstacle. That's our advantage. Ochako nodded, her expression serious, fingers brushing the spheres on her gloves. He probably is predictable when he's angry. Blasts first, thinks never. What's the play? We engage him together, Izuku stated decisively. Initial contact, full synergy. We use his aggression against him, overwhelm him with coordinated attacks. Strictly my physical aspect of my quirk, superpower, totally not OFA, and zero gravity. No system. Just us. He met her eyes. We make him dance to our rhythm. Once he's fully locked on me, frustrated, I'll hold his focus. That's your cue. Ochako understood instantly, a determined glint in her eyes. Go for the bomb while he's busy trying to atomize you. But what about Ida? He won't just let me waltz in. Izuku tapped the blueprint. Ida has to guard the bomb. He's too rule-bound not to. And Bakugo. An explosion near the bomb could technically count as him destroying it, giving both teams a tie by default if it detonates prematurely. Use that. Remind him. It'll make him hesitate to blast wildly if you get close. Use your judo, your agility. Keep him off balance. Literally. Ochako grinned, cracking her knuckles. Got it? Distract the bomb. Float the engine. Easy. Hero Team A, All Might's voice called over the comms. Enter the building. Villain Team D is set. Your time starts now. Hero versus Villain Training, Initial Contact. The interior of the mock office building was eerily quiet, lit by dusty S of sunlight filtering through high windows. Debris littered the floor, overturned desks, scattered paper, broken partitions. Izuku and Ochako moved with practiced silence, Izuku taking point, his enhanced senses on high alert, Ochako a step behind, ready to react. They rounded a corner into a wider open-plan area. Too open. Kaboom! A section of the ceiling directly above Izuku exploded downward in a shower of plaster and sparks. From the smoke and falling debris, Bakugo launched himself like a human missile, a feral grin splitting his face, his right fist pulled back, primed with a building-sized explosion aimed point-blank at Izuku's head. Die, cheater! Izuku didn't flinch. Didn't dodge. Green lightning flickered across his suit, one for all. 8%. His left hand snapped up impossibly fast, not to block the explosion, but to catch Bakugo's wrist just as the detonation ignited. The force of the blast roared around them, scorching the walls, but Izuku's grip held firm, anchoring Bakugo midair for a split second. Bakugo's eyes widened in shock. Was! Izuku used the anchored wrist as a pivot. He spun into Bakugo's momentum, his body a blur of controlled green energy. His right hand shot out, not for a punch, but to clamp onto Bakugo's shoulder. Using the combined force of Bakugo's own charge and OFA-enhanced strength, Izuku executed a flawless, brutal judo, like throw amplified tenfold. Uraraka! Now! Izuku commanded, his voice trying to sound cold and flat amidst the chaos. Bakugo was wrenched off his feet, his trajectory violently altered. He flew horizontally, not towards the ground, but directly towards Ochako, who was already moving. Ochako didn't hesitate. She leaped, meeting Bakugo's airborne form. Her fingers brushed his armored chest plate. Release, she cried. Bakugo's furious momentum didn't stop, but his weight vanished. He became a tumbling, explosive projectile with little to no control in zero gravity. Ochako landed lightly, already pivoting. Gravity's a harsh mistress, Bakugo, she called, tapping a large, overturned metal filing cabinet beside her. It floated instantly. With a powerful shove fueled by adrenaline and training, she sent the half-ton cabinet spinning like a discus directly into Bakugo's uncontrolled path. Crunch. Bakugo slammed into the floating cabinet, the impact echoing through the building. He bounced off, disoriented and weightless, careening towards a cluster of cubicle partitions. Ochako was already moving again, tapping a water cooler, sending it and its contents spraying towards the floating blonde menace. On the monitors in the observation deck, Class 1A watched, utterly gobsmacked. It wasn't just power, it was a brutal, elegant dance. Midoriya and Uraraka moved like extensions of each other, anticipating, flowing, using Bakugo's rage as fuel for their own devastating synergy. Bakugo roared, finally managing to blast himself away from the partitions, landing awkwardly but back under his own gravity. He spat out dust, eyes burning with pure, incandescent hate, fixed solely on Izuku. UBSTRD. How? Izuku stood calm amidst the settling dust, his respirator hiding his mouth but not the icy focus in his eyes. He held up his right hand, not in a fist, but open, fingers splayed slightly. It wasn't a threat, it was a display of utter understanding. "You always lead with your right, Katsuki," he stated, his voice devoid of heat, unnervingly calm. Step 1, linear opener. No feint. Predictable trajectory. Bakugo froze, staggered less by the throw and more by the cold analysis. What how the hell? Izuku tapped the side of his head, where a mental image of a decade's worth of battered notebooks flickered. Step 2, explosion spam on initial contact. High yield, low control. Creates predictable blast zones and recoil vectors. He began walking slowly towards Bakugo, green lightning flickering sporadically around him, not in a surge, but a controlled hum. Step 3, tunnel vision on primary target. Ignores secondary threats. Zero-team synergy protocols active. He listed them like reading patch notes for a glitchy program. Aggression override. Tactical subroutine failure. Emotional processing corrupted. Bakugo looked like he'd been physically struck by each word. The sheer, clinical dissection of his fighting style, laid bare by the person he despised most, was a unique kind of humiliation. He bellowed wordlessly, unleashing a barrage of explosions towards Izuku, who weaved through them with preternatural grace, using minimal bursts of OFA to redirect, dodge, or let the blasts harmlessly scorch reinforced walls Izuku had subtly buffed earlier. He really did not want to upset Aizawa. "Focus, Katsuki," Izuku said calmly, deflecting a blast with a forearm. "Your code is full of vulnerabilities." 10 minutes into the match, amidst the symphony of Bakugo's roars and explosions, Izuku saw his opening. He sent Ochako upstairs to find the bomb room and Ida. 2 minutes later she found him on the 4th floor, trying to monologue some villain discourse to himself. Ochako was a blur of pink and black, dodging Ida's recipro-burst-enhanced charges, using floating debris as shields and platforms, keeping him thoroughly occupied near the bomb room's entrance. "Uraraka. Package de l'eau," Izuku called, locking eyes with her for a split second across the chaotic room. He didn't need to say more. Ochako nodded sharply. Time to switch targets. Izuku poured on a sudden burst of speed and aggression, green lightning flaring brighter. He feinted left, then closed the distance to Bakugo in a blink, unleashing a rapid series of controlled jabs and kicks infused with OFA, not to seriously injure, but to harass, to infuriate, to demand Bakugo's complete and undivided, rage-fueled attention. Bakugo, snarling, took the bait, pouring everything into trying to land a hit on the infuriatingly agile, analyzing nerd. Ochako disengaged from Ida in a graceful backflip, landing lightly on a floating desk. "Sorry, Ida-kun. Duty calls," she chirped, then sprinted away from the bomb room entrance, deeper into the building, vanishing around a corner. Ida, momentarily confused by her retreat, hesitated. His primary directive was to guard the bomb. But letting Uraraka run loose was also a threat. He revved his engines, torn. Ochako didn't go far. She ducked into a side corridor, then doubled back, scaling a floating bookshelf to reach the ceiling tiles. She moved with silent, practiced agility honed by years of martial arts and construction site navigation. Below, she heard Ida's engines rev as he cautiously scanned the main area near the bomb room, clearly expecting a frontal assault. Wrong approach, Ochako thought with a determined grin. She spotted a ventilation duct above the bomb room, not large enough for entry, but perfect for. She tapped the grate. It floated free. Then, using her grip gloves and footholds created by peeling back ceiling tiles, she hauled herself up and over the corridor, landing silently on the roof structure above the bomb room. Below, through a gap in the tiles, she could see the dummy bomb and Ida pacing nervously below, his back to her position. She took a deep breath. Go time. Ochako dropped through the ceiling tiles directly behind Ida, landing in a silent crouch. Ida whirled, engines flaring. Uraraka-san. Cease this. He didn't get to finish. Ochako was already moving, a whirlwind of pink and black. She ducked under a recipro-powered kick that would have shattered concrete, rolled forward, and came up inside Ida's guard. Her hand shot out, not for a strike, but for a grip on his armored forearm. Release. Ida's eyes widened as his weight vanished. His powerful kick suddenly had no anchor, sending him spinning wildly off balance. Ochako didn't let go. She used his momentum, pulling and pushing with expert Aikido leverage, sending the now weightless Ida into a dizzying, uncontrolled spin. Unhand me. This is Irk. Ida's protests were cut off as the rapid spinning took effect. His stomach lurched violently. Sorry, Ida-kun. Ochako called, her voice light but focused. She guided his spinning form away from the bomb, making sure he didn't crash into anything hard. Just securing the objective. Try not to think about up and down. Ida groaned, his face turning a distinct shade of green. A protest. The methodology. Ugh. Ochako counted the spins, judging his disorientation perfectly. After a particularly nauseating revolution, she released his arm and gave him a gentle, perfectly timed shove towards an open corner. Landing zone. Ida tumbled into the corner, retching slightly, completely incapacitated by zero-gravity-induced vertigo. Ochako didn't waste a second. She turned, sprinted the few steps to the dummy bomb, and tapped it triumphantly with her fingertips. Hero team wins. All Might's voice boomed through the building's comms and the observation deck speakers, filled with genuine excitement. A wonderful example of coordinated offense. The trust. The synergy. The nausea. Truly plus ultra. Problem-solving, young Uraraka. On the main monitor, the image showed Bakugo frozen mid-swing towards Izuku, the explosion dying in his palm as the announcement registered. His face was a mask of utter, disbelieving fury. Behind him, Izuku lowered his guard, the green lightning around him fading, his eyes finding the camera with a look of quiet satisfaction before shifting towards the bomb room door, waiting for his partner. In the bomb room, Ochako grinned, breathing heavily but exhilarated, giving a thumbs up to the nearest camera. Beside the groaning Ida, the dummy bomb sat securely, tagged by the gravity hero. Teamwork had triumphed over tantrums. Bakugo meltdown. The silence after All Might's announcement was thicker than the settling plaster dust. Bakugo stood frozen in the wrecked office space, fists still smoking, knuckles white around his gauntlet. The realization hit him like a physical blow. He'd lost. To Deku. To Uraraka. His vision tunneled, the world shrinking to Izuku's calm figure standing amidst the debris he'd created. No! The roar ripped from Bakugo's throat, raw and guttural, echoing through the shattered building. He whirled, not towards the bomb room, but towards Izuku, his entire body trembling with incandescent rage. You have cheat. You liar. Spittle flew as he took a jerky step forward. All those years. Playing the sniveling, quirkless nothing. Letting me think you were garbage. Just so you could humiliate me now. Pretending to be weak. Just to make me look like a fool. His voice cracked, a terrifying mix of fury and something raw, almost wounded. Was it funny? Watching me think I was better. Izuku's expression remained impassive behind his respirator, but his eyes, usually wide and earnest, had hardened into chips of jade. He didn't retreat. He stood his ground as Bakugo advanced, a storm of fury and unstable nitroglycerin sweat. Answer me, Q. Bakugo screamed, stopping mere feet away, chest heaving. Was it a joke? You and that gravity beach plotting. The word beach hung in the air like poison gas. Izuku moved. Not with blinding OFA speed, but with deliberate, chilling purpose. He took one single step forward, closing the gap entirely. The air around him seemed to crackle, not with green lightning, but with a palpable wave of barely controlled wrath. Shut up. His voice wasn't a yell. It was low, razor-sharp, and colder than Todoroki's ice. It cut through Bakugo's tirade like a knife. The observation deck monitors showed a close-up. Izuku's eyes locked onto Bakugo's, devoid of fear, filled with a terrifying clarity. You made me believe, Izuku stated, each word precise and heavy, that I was worthless. That I deserved nothing. That my dreams were a joke you got to laugh at. He didn't raise his voice, but it carried with the weight of a decade of pain. So I built myself. from scratch. Brick by FNG brick. Without you. Without your permission. Without your mockery defining me. He leaned in slightly, his voice dropping to a near whisper that felt louder than any explosion. You don't get to stand there, Katsuki, and feel betrayed because I finally stood up. His gaze flickered towards the corridor where Ochako and a pale, unsteady Ida were emerging. And you absolutely don't get to insult my friends. The use of his real name, the dismissal of the hated nickname, Kaken, the sheer finality in Izuku's tone, it was the ultimate insult to Bakugo's fractured ego. Reason shattered. I'll kill you. Bakugo howled, pure, unadulterated madness in his eyes. He lunged, not with a fist, but with his entire body, aiming to tackle Izuku. Simultaneously, his right hand jerked towards the pin on his grenade gauntlet. Die with me, Chia. Izuku's hand was already raised, fingers splayed. A near-invisible ripple of green light pulsed from his palm, washing over Bakugo's gauntlet. Access, entity _Bakugo _gauntlet _ target, fluid _reservoir. Delete, nitroglycerin _ white heavy checkmark deletion complete. Reservoir, empty. Access, entity _Bakugo _ target, fluid _reservoir. Delete, nitroglycerin _ white heavy checkmark deletion complete. Reservoir, empty. Bakugo's finger closed on the pin. He yanked it. Nothing happened. No telltale hiss, no building pressure. Just a hollow click. He stared at his gauntlet, dumbfounded for a microsecond. In that moment, Izuku spoke, calm and clear, his voice picked up by his suit's comm and broadcast to the observation deck. Sensei, All Might. This is self-defense. Recording active. Then he moved. He didn't vanish. He didn't use overwhelming speed. He simply reacted with brutal, efficient precision. As Bakugo, confused by the gauntlet failure, tried to adjust his tackle into a wild right hook, Izuku flowed with the motion. Dodge left. Bakugo's fist whistled past Izuku's ear. Step in. Izuku closed the distance inside Bakugo's guard. Strike 1. A piston-driven left jab sank deep into Bakugo's solar plexus. HRK. Strike 2. A driving right uppercut followed instantly, connecting under the ribs. Juj. Strike 3. A final, short, devastating straight right, amplified by just 5% OFA, slammed into the same spot as the first jab. Oof. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't a barrage. It was 3 perfectly placed, concussive body blows delivered in less than a second. Bakugo's eyes rolled back. All the air left his lungs in a pained wheeze. His knees buckled. He crashed face-first onto the debris-strewn floor, unconscious before he hit the ground, a trickle of drool escaping his lips. Silence. Utter, deafening silence in the mock building and the observation deck. Then, a rush of wind and golden light. All Might materialized between Izuku and the fallen Bakugo, one hand raised protectively, his face a mask of shock and concern. Enough. Stand down, both of. He stopped, taking in the scene. Bakugo out cold on the floor, Izuku standing calmly a few feet away, hands now held open and slightly raised at his sides in a clear gesture of non-aggression. Ochako and Ida rushed up beside Izuku. Ochako's eyes were wide, but she stepped protectively in front of Izuku, her own hands clenched but not raised. Ida looked horrified, but stood stiffly beside them, adjusting his glasses. All Might's gaze swept from the unconscious Bakugo to Izuku. Young Midoriya. What happened? Izuku met All Might's eyes, his own still hard but now tinged with weary resignation. He gestured with his open hands towards the still recording cameras in the corners and his own suit sensors. He attacked me, All Might, after the match. Just a JRK. But that was calculated. He enjoyed it. He looked at Izuku with newfound, horrified respect. How did you even? Zero just shook his head, unable to speak, his usual easygoing demeanor replaced by deep discomfort. The potential friendship was irrevocably poisoned. Momo's face was set in lines of cold fury. Utterly reprehensible. she stated, her voice like ice. No hero, no decent human being, treats others that way. His conduct is an affront to everything UA stands for. Todoroki watched Izuku, his heterochromatic eyes thoughtful. He saw the echoes of his own childhood torment, the quiet resilience. You endured, he stated simply, a quiet acknowledgement that spoke volumes. Jiraiya looked like she was containing PG-18 words in her mouth. She plugged one jack into the floor, grounding herself. Yeah. Dude needs serious help. Or a jail cell, that was abuse. Aizawa watched the class reactions, his dark eyes missing nothing. The disgust, the horror, the dawning understanding. It was the necessary purge after the festering wound had been lanced. All Might stood beside him, his shoulders slumped. I failed them both, he murmured, so low only Aizawa could hear. I saw the power when I give my vote to pass him, but I was blind to the rot beneath. Those 0 rescue points should have been my first alert. Aizawa didn't disagree. The rot was there long before he got here, Toshinori. We just didn't look hard enough. Or chose not to see. He pushed off the wall. Class dismissed for the day. Process this. Talk if you need to. Support each other. His gaze swept over them, lingering on the shaken former potential Baku squad, and landing finally on Izuku and Ochako. Midoriya. Uraraka. Well handled. Today was necessary. As the class slowly, quietly began to gather their things, the atmosphere was heavy but also cleaner. A toxic presence had been exposed. Bonds forged in shared trauma and understanding began to subtly shift and strengthen. Kirishima avoided looking towards the door Bakugo had been taken through. Mina walked close to Jiraiya, seeking comfort. Izuku felt Ochako's hand slip from his arm to gently hold his hand. He squeezed back, the contact a lifeline. He hadn't sought vindication, but he'd gotten truth. And the class, his real comrades in arms now, had seen it. Pepe nudged his leg, projecting a tiny, warm message onto the floor beside them. System status, classroom.exe purge complete. Party cohesion, plus 85%. Safe mode, engaged. The path forward wouldn't be easy, but the air, for the first time in Izuku Midoriya's life within these walls, felt like it belonged to him and those who stood with him, not against him. 2 minutes later, Recovery Girl office. Delivering consequences. The sterile, antiseptic smell of Recovery Girl's office was a stark contrast to the lingering ozone and plaster dust clinging to Aizawa. Bakugo lay on a cot, unconscious but stable, his face pale beneath the fading bruises from Izuku's precise strikes. Recovery Girl finished her scan, her expression grim. Concussion. Severe emotional shock. Minor internal bruising from those body blows, precise, controlled, but forceful, she reported, her voice clipped. He'll be out for a few hours. Physically, he'll recover quickly with rest. Mentally? She shook her head, looking at Aizawa and All Might, who stood like grim statues. That boy needs help I can't give him here. Understood, Aizawa said, his voice flat. He held a thick, official-looking envelope. The UA crest was stamped prominently, alongside the words, Notice of Expulsion, Permanent. We're taking him home. Now. All Might nodded, his face etched with a profound sadness that went beyond mere disappointment. It was the look of an ideal confronting a harsh, ugly reality it couldn't simply punch away. I'll carry him. Gently. The journey to the Bakugo residence was silent, heavy. Aizawa rode shotgun in a discreet UA vehicle, the expulsion notice resting on his lap like a lead weight. All Might sat in the back, cradling the unconscious Bakugo with surprising tenderness, a stark contrast to the fury the boy had unleashed. Mitsuki Bakugo answered the door, her usual fiery demeanor replaced by wary confusion at the sight of the 2 pro-heroes, one carrying her son. Katsuki? What happened? Is he? He's physically stable, Mrs. Bakugo, Aizawa cut in, his tone devoid of its usual tiredness, replaced by a chilling formality. Recovery Girl treated him. He'll wake soon. May we come in? We need to speak with you and your husband. Urgently. Masaru Bakugo appeared behind his wife, his gentle face creased with concern. They ushered the teachers into their living room. All Might laid Bakugo carefully on his room upstairs and came down rapidly. The atmosphere crackled with unspoken dread. Aizawa wasted no time. He placed the expulsion envelope on the coffee table with a decisive thump. Katsuki Bakugo is expelled from UA High School. Effective immediately. Permanently. Mitsuki gasped, hand flying to her mouth. Expelled? What in the hell did he do? Masaru paled. Please, explain. Aizawa met their eyes, his dark gaze unflinching. He lost a training exercise. His response was to launch an unprovoked, murderous assault on the winning student with 2 other students behind him after the match was concluded. He attempted to use lethal weaponry, his support gear, against a classmate. He used vile, unacceptable slurs against a female student. Aizawa's voice was like gravel. We have irrefutable evidence. Visual, auditory, biometric. His actions were not those of a hero student. They were those of a villain. He placed 2 small, unmarked data drives beside the envelope. One contains footage of the incident today. The other contains compiled by the student he attacked, Midoriya Izuku. It details a decade of sustained, malicious bullying and psychological abuse inflicted by your son upon him, witnessed and recorded through Midoriya's unique capabilities. It includes incidents UA was previously unaware of or chose to overlook. We can no longer overlook them. Mitsuki stared at the drives, fury warring with dawning horror. Katsuki. Bullies? But he's strong. He's always wanted to be number 1, the most powerful of all. Strength without morality is tyranny, Mrs. Bakugo, All Might said softly, his voice heavy. He had every advantage. A powerful quirk. Loving parents. Admiration. He used it to inflict pain, deliberately and consistently, on someone he perceived as weaker. Today was simply the culmination. Watch them, Aizawa stated flatly. Both. Then you'll understand why this is not negotiable. UA failed Midoriya Izuku by allowing Bakugo's behavior to fester. We will not fail our other students, or the ideals of heroism, any longer. He didn't wait for a response. He gave a curt nod to All Might, and the 2 teachers turned and left the Bakugo residence, the heavy door clicking shut behind them, leaving the stunned parents alone with their unconscious son and the damning evidence on the table. Inside the Bakugo living room. With trembling hands, Masaru inserted the first drive into their living room console. The footage from ground beta played. Bakugo's unhinged rant, the unforgivable slur directed at Uraraka, Izuku's cold, devastating shutdown, the gauntlet attempt, the 3 brutal, efficient punches. Mitsuki watched, her initial outrage fading into horrified disbelief as she saw the pure, venomous hatred on her son's face, the murderous intent. Katsuki. No, she whispered, tears welling. That's not my boy. Then, Masaru inserted the second drive. The curated memories Izuku had shown the class began to play, amplified on their large screen. The playground hit and shove. The stolen, burned notebook. The relentless classroom taunts. The physical abuse, the rooftop scene. Take a swan dive off the roof and pray for a quirk on your next life. Mitsuki flinched as if struck. Masaru made a choked sound. They saw their son year after year, tormenting a smaller, quirkless boy who only fought back to protect other kids, who kept trying to be friendly, who took notes on Katsuki's quirk with admiration even as Katsuki burned them. They saw the casual cruelty, the absolute lack of empathy, the enjoyment of domination. Tears streamed down Mitsuki's face now, not of anger, but of profound shame and grief. He did this? All this time? To our sweet boy. Izuku, he was supposed to be like his brother. Me and Inko raised them together. Her voice broke. We never saw? Did we just not want to see it? Masaru slumped onto the sofa and took a family photo. He didn't need to see more. The picture was horrifyingly clear. The explosive temper they'd always attributed to his quirk, to his drive. It masked something darker. A core of cruelty, nurtured by their own blindness or indulgence, by a society that worshipped power without questioning its wielder. He looked at Katsuki's pale, slack face. The boy who dreamed of being the symbol of victory. The boy they loved. The boy who had systematically broken another child for a decade, culminating in an attempted murder on camera. What have we raised, Mitsuki? Masaru whispered, the sound lost in the silence broken only by the soft whir of the console and Mitsuki's stifled sobs. Upstairs, unnoticed, Bakugo Katsuki stirred slightly in his unconsciousness, the carefully constructed walls of his superiority complex lying in ruins around him, both in the outside world and soon within the walls of his own home. The path to becoming a hero was closed. The path forward was shrouded in the grim consequences of his own choices, witnessed by the two people whose approval he had always taken for granted. The recordings played on, an inescapable indictment. Morning light streamed into classroom 1A, but the usual pre-class chatter was subdued, replaced by a low hum of wary curiosity. The events surrounding Bakugo's expulsion still hung heavy, but a new kind of tension crackled in the air as Aizawa stood at the front, looking more exhausted than usual, flanked by Principal Nizu perched on his shoulder. "All right, settle down," Aizawa droned, silencing the murmurs instantly. "Before homeroom begins, we have a new student joining us." He gestured towards the door. Effective immediately, she's transferring from the support course under a specialized emotional regulation and integration program. Judgments will be reserved. Welcome her appropriately. The door slid open. Himiko Midoriya stepped in. The first thing anyone noticed was the hair. Vibrant, unmistakable Midoriya green, styled in slightly messy twin buns. It was such a stark declaration of belonging that it caused a collective intake of breath. She wore the standard UA uniform, perfectly pressed, but there was a palpable nervous energy radiating from her, like a tightly coiled spring trying very hard not to snap. Her golden eyes darted around the room, wide and slightly too intense, taking in every face with a flicker of something that wasn't quite fear, but wasn't calm either. She clutched a brand new notebook like a shield. Pepe rolled in behind her, projecting a tiny, hovering eyes emoji that scanned the room. "This is Himiko Midoriya?" He still did not believe that, Aizawa stated, his voice flat. "Her quirk is irrelevant for your purposes. What matters is her conduct here and now. UA judges growth, not gossip. Understood?" His gaze swept the class, lingering meaningfully. "Any issues, bring them to me. Not her. And please not Midoriya." He nodded towards Izuku, who sat ramrod straight, his expression a mix of fierce protectiveness and gentle encouragement. Himiko offered a small, slightly too wide smile. Hello. I'm Himiko. I'm really excited to be here. Your eyeballs are all such pretty shades." She blurted, then immediately clapped a hand over her mouth, her cheeks flushing crimson. Sorry. That was normal. I meant normal excitement." A ripple of awkward silence followed. Skepticism was written on several faces. Momo's brow was furrowed thoughtfully. Kirishima looked confused. Mina leaned over to whisper to Jairu, who just shrugged, her expression unreadable but watchful. Izuku stood up smoothly. "Himiko is my sister," he announced, his voice firm and clear, cutting through the tension. "She's family. She's working hard, and she deserves this chance just like the rest of us." His green eyes held an unspoken challenge, sweeping over the class. "I trust her." Uraraka, sitting beside Izuku, had gone very still the moment Himiko entered. Her knuckles were white where she gripped the edge of her desk. There was something. An instinctive prickle of unease, a leftover echo from human fight or flight instinct, perhaps. She watched Himiko's too bright smile, the way her fingers twitched. Himiko noticed Ochako's stare. Her golden eyes met brown, and for a second, the intensity dialed up. Himiko flinched, looking down at her shoes. I know I seem strange," she mumbled, barely audible. "My quirk, it used to make me feel sick, hungry, for things I shouldn't want. To was messy." Izuku stood up and placed a reassuring hand on Himiko's shoulder. "Himiko's quirk requires specific biological components to function safely," he explained calmly to the class, though his gaze was fixed on Ochako. components that were previously inaccessible to her in a healthy way. Now, she has regulated access. Our mother and I provide what she needs under medical supervision. He met Ochako's eyes directly. It's perfectly safe. For everyone. The unspoken word hung in the air, blood. Understanding dawned on Ochako's face, replacing the wariness with dawning horror at what Himiko must have endured, followed by fierce empathy. The pieces clicked, the instability, the desperation Izuku found her in. Before anyone else could react, Ochako shot to her feet. That's awful, Ochako declared, her voice ringing with conviction. To have a quirk that makes you feel sick? That's horrible. And being alone with it. She stepped slightly in front of Himiko, facing the class. If she has a safe way now and she's trying, then that's what matters. Izuku and his mom are amazing for helping her. She turned to Himiko, offering a genuine, if slightly hesitant, smile. Welcome, Himiko-chan. Please tell me of anyone who gives you trouble. Himiko stared at Ochako, her golden eyes wide with disbelief, then shimmering with sudden, unshed tears. She ducked her head, a real, wobbly smile replacing the forced one. Thank you, Uraraka-san, she whispered. Kirishima, ever the empathetic soul, slammed a hardened fist onto his desk, gently this time. Yeah. Manly as heck, a new member of the Midoriya family. Welcome, Himiko. We got your back. His declaration seemed to break the ice. Mina bounced in her seat. Ooh, green hair buddies. Sort of, mine's pink. We should coordinate. Kaminari grinned even if he was still a little uneasy. Hey, if Midoriya vouches for ya, that's good enough for me. Welcome aboard. Pepe whirred loudly, projecting a large, flashing emoji above Himiko's head as the class murmured acceptance. Speech balloon, do not data mine the gremlin. It got a startled laugh from several students, including a small, genuine giggle from Himiko. Aizawa cleared his throat, a rare flicker of something almost like approval in his tired eyes. All right, enough spectacle. Himiko, take the empty seat behind Uraraka. Midoriya, sit down. Let's begin homeroom. Today's schedule involves reviewing yesterday's disaster and planning how not to replicate it. Pay attention. As Himiko carefully took her seat, her movements still a little too precise, Ochako gave her another small, encouraging smile. Izuku sat back down, radiating quiet relief. The path wouldn't be smooth. Himiko still flinched at sudden movements. Her compliments remained unsettlingly specific. Your earlobes are fascinatingly shaped, Kaminari-kun. But she was here. She was trying. And for the first time in her chaotic, blood-stained life, Himiko Midoriya had a mother, a brother, classroom, a fierce gravity defender, and a pug-shaped firewall telling the world to back off. It was a start. Pepe projected a final, quiet message visible only to Izuku and Ochako. System status, Gremlin disintegration initiated. Stability, 67%, rising. Protection protocols, active locked. Aizawa, now cocooned in his signature yellow sleeping bag at the front of the class, a clear indicator that Himiko's integration hadn't completely drained him, rasped out the next order of business. UA tradition dictates each class elects a representative. President. Vice President. Duties involve liaison work, organizing events, being the first point of contact for complaints that should come to me. He unzipped the bag just enough to glare at them. No quirks during campaigning. No buying votes with candy or reality-modifying favors as donations. His eyes flickered towards Izuku, who blushed furiously. Speeches. 30 seconds max. Nominate yourselves. Go. Momo Yaoyorozu stood first, posture impeccable. I nominate myself for class president. My quirk, creation, necessitates meticulous planning, resource management, and decisive action, skills directly transferable to leadership. I pledge to foster unparalleled efficiency, ensure clear communication channels, and leverage our collective strengths to make Class 1A the most cohesive and high-achieving cohort UA has ever seen. Thank you. She sat down to respectful applause. Flawless. Professional. Boringly competent. Silence followed. Eyes drifted towards Ida, but he remained seated, looking unusually subdued after the Bakugo incident. Kirishima nudged Kaminari. Dude, go for it. Manly leadership. Kaminari grinned. I nominate myself. I promise. Louder study sessions? And maybe convince Lunch Rush to add extra crispy chicken days? Plus ultra snacking. He got a few chuckles but sat down quickly. Then, a quiet hand went up. Izuku stood, looking like he was about to face another zero-pointer. I nominate myself. For Vice President? Maybe. He took a deep breath, trying to channel All Might's confidence and failing spectacularly. I want to help. Make sure everyone feels included and safe. Because safety is important. Really important. Like threat assessment protocols. And evacuation routes. And optimizing response times to potential incursions. And environmental hazard mitigation. As he spiraled deeper into nervous rambling about safety metrics, his anxiety spiked. His HUD, usually an internal overlay, glitched. A large, translucent green console window, filled with rapidly scrolling threat assessments, evacuation vector maps, structural integrity readouts of the classroom, and even a tiny heat map of perceived student stress levels. Himiko was a bright red blob, flickered into existence above his head, visible to the entire class. System alert, social anxiety overload. Projecting, safety protocols, public mode. Threat level, low, except social embarrassment. Critical. Recommended action. Abort speech activate stealth. Izuku froze, mortified, staring at the glowing display of his internal panic. Oh no. Sorry. I didn't mean I just. Before Aizawa could grunt, Midoriya, control your UI, or Kaminari could make a joke about hacking the election, Ochako shot to her feet. That, she declared, pointing emphatically at the floating disaster of Izuku's HUD. That's exactly why he should be president. Look at it. He's literally programmed to see every possible danger and find the safest, most efficient way through it. He thinks 10 steps ahead about protecting people, even from embarrassing themselves during speeches. Who else is constantly running background scans to make sure we're okay? He doesn't just want to keep us safe, his brain is wired for it. Plus ultra safety protocols. She crossed her arms, nodding firmly. President Midoriya. A stunned silence fell. Then Kirishima slammed his fist down. She's right. That's manly as heck. Constant vigilance. Midoriya for prez. Mina bounced. Yes. Safety first, but also, imagine the class parties he could optimize. Even Momo looked thoughtfully impressed. The analytical depth displayed, albeit involuntarily, is formidable. A unique perspective for leadership. Aizawa sighed, the sound like gravel in a dryer. Fine. Anyone else? For now. Raise hands for Yaoyorozu for president. Several hands went up. For Midoriya for president. Nearly every other hand shot up, including Ochako's, fiercely, Kirishima's, Mina's, Kaminari's, and surprisingly, Todoroki's thoughtful raise. Midoriya it is. Now vice president. Yaoyorozu. Every hand went up except Momo's, who voted for herself, and Izuku's, who was still trying to vanish into his WHM suit collar. Yaoyorozu for vice president. Congratulations. Try not to break anything. Midoriya, shut off the glowing nightmare. Izuku frantically waved his hand, dissipating the HUD. Weiss-sensei. Pepe beeped. Election.exe. Success. President. QVP. Momo. Later, as students dispersed for lunch, Izuku spotted Aizawa trudging down the hallway, a portrait of exhaustion, shoulders slumped under invisible weights. A pang of gratitude hit Izuku. This man had expelled Bakugo and welcomed Himiko. He deserved more than perpetual fatigue. Subtly, Izuku raised a finger. Target. Aizawa. Access. Quirk under system erasure. Modify. Cooldown underscore reduction 99%. Duration, 90 seconds. Rewrite. Metabolic underscore energy underscore level max. Second furniture install. Present permanent. Execute, stealth understood. A soft green pulse washed over Aizawa. He stopped dead. The crushing exhaustion vanished, replaced by a vibrant, buzzing energy that thrummed in his veins like bass from a concert speaker. His eyes snapped open, clear and sharp, the gritty dryness gone. He felt awake, truly awake, for the first time in years. The energy felt familiar, warm, and strangely musical. In the teacher's lounge, present mic was vibrating by the coffee machine. Yo, Shoyuda. Ready for my world-famous turbo calf WH. He spun around as Aizawa entered. Dude. Alive. Like really alive. Did you sleep yesterday? Did you finally sleep? Aizawa didn't grunt. He didn't glare. He walked straight towards Hizashi, the new, permanent mic-synced energy making every step feel lighter. He stopped mere inches away, closer than he'd ever willingly stood. The usual deadpan mask was gone, replaced by an intense, focused gaze. Hizashi, Aizawa said, his voice lower, smoother, lacking its usual gravel. It held a warmth that made Mick's jaw drop. Why a show? Mike stammered, frozen. The coffee, Aizawa stated, his dark eyes locked onto Hizashi's. It smells tolerable. A ghost of a smile, an actual smile, touched his lips. Almost appealing. Mike nearly dropped the mug. Appealing. Sho, are you feeling oka? He stopped. Aizawa wasn't just looking at him, he was looking into him, with an intensity usually reserved for high-profile villains. The synced energy buzzed between them, warm and resonant. Midnight, pretending to grade papers, dropped her pen. Her eyes widened behind her mask. She silently pulled out her phone, fingers flying to record. Aizawa reached out, his hand brushing Hizashi's as he took the offered mug. The contact sent a jolt through both men. You're still loud today, Hizashi, Aizawa said, the words lacking any bite, sounding almost appreciative. But it's a good kind of loud. Mick's face turned crimson. Thanks? I think. Aizawa didn't slump. He took a sip of coffee, maintaining eye contact. Still just tolerable, but drinkable. With you here. He didn't retreat to his nap couch. He leaned against the counter beside Mike, radiating a calm, energized presence that was utterly alien and mesmerizing. Midnight swooped in, draping an arm over Mick's shoulders. Well, she purred, her grin predatory. Someone's finally acts like a human being. She patted Mick's flaming cheek and put on her hand in Aizawa's shoulder. You look deliciously flustered, Hizashi and Aizawa. Now. Outside, Izuku, Ochako, and Himiko walked past the lounge door towards the cafeteria. Izuku smiled faintly at the muffled sounds of Midnight's interrogation and Mick's flustered sputtering. System update complete, he murmured. Ochako raised an eyebrow. What did you do? Just optimized Sensei's energy settings, Izuku said innocently. Permanent upgrade. Synced him to a more compatible frequency. Himiko giggled, eyes gleaming. Sensei looks like he wants to hug them, but in a fun, energy-sharing way. Like a happy battery. Pepe projected a sparkling heart. Energinder C. 100% romance activated. The UA cafeteria buzzed with lunchtime chaos. Izuku, Ochako, Ida, and Himiko sat together, Himiko cautiously nibbling a rice ball Izuku had subtly optimized for maximum nutrition. Enhance_food, balanced_macros, white heavy checkmark. Kirishima, Kaminari, and Siro were engaged in a loud debate about the manliness of different lunch meats at a nearby table. Suddenly, a deafening, pulsating klaxon ripped through the air. Red emergency lights flashed violently overhead. Panic instantly gripped the room. Students froze mid-bite, eyes wide. Some dropped trays. Others scrambled under tables. Intruder alert. Intruder alert. Security breach at main gate. All students remain in designated safe zones. Chaos threatened to erupt. Himiko flinched, her golden eyes darting wildly, fingers twitching near her utensils. Ochako stood, ready to float tables as shields. Ida chopped his hand, about to shout evacuation orders. Izuku didn't panic. His eyes snapped into focus. A faint green glow reflected in his irises as his HUD activated at lightning speed. Access: campus_security_feed. Target: main_gate. Analyze entities. White heavy checkmark analysis. 15 entities detected. Entity 1 to 14, human. Threat level: negligible. Weapons: cameras, microphones. Intent: information gathering. Entity 15, human. Threat level: apocalyptic. Affiliation: of. Weapons? Intent: information gathering. He stood up calmly. He knew that he should not cause panic in a situation like this, amplifying his voice X5 through his HUD comm, projecting calm authority. Everyone stay calm. His voice cut through the alarm and the rising panic. It's not intruders. It's just reporters. They've breached the main gate. No weapons. Just cameras. Simultaneously, he sent a targeted, calming pulse through his HUD, visible only as a soft green shimmer washing over the immediate area. Apply buff, Convention, radius, 500 m, white heavy checkmark. The effect was immediate near his table. The panic subsided, replaced by confused murmurs. Reporters? How does he know? Midoriya's got his admin face on. Ochako relaxed, lowering her hands. Just reporters? Phew. Ida adjusted his glasses, impressed. Remarkable situational awareness, Midoriya-kun. Himiko slowly lowered her fork, her breathing easing. Cameras. Okay. Izuku sent over a quick copy of his HUD report to Nizu, letting him know that for a moment there was an unidentified person in the UA. Over the still blaring alarm, Aizawa's voice crackled over the PA, confirming Izuku's assessment moments later. Stand down. False alarm. Press core at the main gate. Security is handling it. Resume lunch. And someone turn that infernal noise off. The alarm cut off abruptly. The red lights stopped flashing. The cafeteria exhaled a collective sigh of relief, turning to stare at Izuku with newfound awe. Kirishima gave him a thumbs up. Saved us from a stampede, Prez. Manly. Pepe projected a tiny newspaper emoji with a line through it. Intruders. Denied. Media overflow. Bus ride to the U.S. The atmosphere on the bus heading to the unforeseen simulation joint, USJ, was electric with anticipation, a stark contrast to the morning's tension. Minetta's absence was a palpable relief, especially for the girls. Toga, Himiko, sat near the back, fidgeting with her uniform sleeve. She had yet to decide on a hero costume, feeling intensely out of place. Her green hair drew curious glances, but most classmates offered tentative smiles after the cafeteria incident. Suddenly, Tsuyu Azui plopped into the seat beside her. Ribbit. Himiko jumped slightly. Your quirk. It feels animal. Primal. Like mine, but predatorial. Tsuyu stated bluntly, tilting her head. Mine makes me a frog. Yours. It feels like it wants to be a kind of cat predator, but it's not as scary after knowing you a little. Ribbit. Himiko blinked, surprised. Why? It used to be. Hungry. In a bad way. Now it's learning manners. Like a stray cat. She offered a hesitant, sharp-toothed smile. Tsuyu nodded sagely. Ribbit. Stray cats can be good. They just need a safe home and regular meals. She pointed a finger towards Izuku and Ochako chatting up front. You found good feeders. The simple, non-judgmental analogy made Himiko relax visibly. A small, genuine smile touched her lips. Yeah. I guess I did. Up front, Kaminari was in full flirt mode, leaning over seats. Hey Jairu. My heart's doing the electric slide. Want a duet? Jairu simply plugged a jack into her ear and ignored him. Undeterred, he turned to Momo. Yamamo. Looking radiant as ever. That VP glow. Momo smiled politely but distantly. Kirishima, sitting across from Izuku, leaned forward, his eyes bright with curiosity. Hey Prez. Seriously, after that cafeteria thing. How do your powers work? It's like you just know stuff, see stuff. And you fixed Aizawa-sensei. He hasn't napped once today. He looks awake and kinda intense. He gestured towards the front. Aizawa was indeed wide awake, actively discussing route details with 13 via comms, his capture weapon neat, his posture alert, a far cry from his usual near-comatose bus state. The permanent present mic energy sync thrummed beneath his calm exterior. Izuku rubbed his neck. It's complicated. It has a power aspect. But the other part, it's like admin access? Well, see everything. Data, systems, biology, physics. I can see the code, manipulate variables. But, he added quickly, seeing Kirishima's odd expression, I try not to use it unless I have to. Or for safety. Optimizing things. Like Sensei's nap time? Kaminari chimed in, grinning. Or making sure the reporters didn't cause a panic, Ochako added proudly, nudging Izuku. Near the middle, Jairu nudged Momo with her elbow, a sly grin on her face. So, Madam Vice President, she teased, her voice low. Running the class while the safety overlord scans for lunch spill hazards. Power looks good on you. She winked. Momo blushed faintly, a rare break in her composure. Jairu-san. It's merely a position of responsibility. And Midoriya's comprehensive safety protocols are certainly unique. Though perhaps his HUD could use a privacy filter during speeches. She glanced at Izuku fondly. Jairu chuckled. Unique is one word for it. But hey, she leaned closer, lowering her voice further, if you need help with those efficient organizing systems, I'm always open for strategic planning. The flirtation was subtle but clear. Momo's blush deepened slightly, but she met Jairu's gaze with a spark of amusement. I may take you up on that, Jairu-sen. Your input is invaluable. Aizawa finished his call and turned to face the class, his energized presence commanding attention. All right, listen up. We're approaching the Unforeseen Simulation Joint, the USJ. This is a state-of-the-art facility designed for rescue training. Today's focus, disaster scenarios. Floods, fires, landslides, rubble collapses. His voice was firm, lacking its usual exhaustion-induced rasp. 13 will be our lead instructor on site. This is a foundational exercise. Take it seriously. Learn. Cooperate. Your lives and others could depend on these skills someday. He looked over the excited, slightly nervous faces of Class 1A. His gaze lingered for a fraction of a second on Himiko, who was now quietly chatting with Tsuyu, then on Izuku. Stay alert. Stay together. And Midoriya? Izuku straightened. Yes, Sensei? I count on you in case of an emergency, but try to keep the reality edits to a minimum unless the simulation literally starts collapsing. Understood? Understood, Sensei. Izuku replied, a determined glint in his eye. The bus turned a corner, and the massive domed structure of the USJ came into view. The first real off-campus training had begun. Pepe projected a tiny map of the USJ on the bus floor. Destination, rescue training objective. Don't drown, burn, crush each other. The massive dome of the USJ loomed like a futuristic cathedral dedicated to catastrophe. Class 1A spilled off the bus, buzzing with a mixture of awe and nervous energy. Before them stretched a vast central plaza, surrounded by meticulously crafted disaster zones. A crumbling cityscape, a roiling flood zone, a blazing conflagration area, a mountain landslide, and more. Standing calmly in the center of the plaza was the space-themed hero, 13, their sleek black and white suit radiating gentle authority. Ochako gasped, stars practically visible in her eyes. 13. Oh my gosh. The rescue hero who pioneered zero-gravity debris removal protocols. Their efficiency ratings are off the charts. Welcome, students, to the Unforeseen Simulation Joint. 13 announced, their voice amplified but kind through their helmet speaker. This facility is designed to simulate the unpredictable chaos of real disasters. Here, we train not just your quirks, but your hearts and minds. Rescue work is the cornerstone of heroism. It's about saving lives, alleviating suffering, and bringing hope where there is despair. Remember your power. Izuku's HUD, passively scanning the environment for structural integrity and potential training hazards, suddenly exploded with crimson warnings. System alert. Spatial anomaly detected. Location: Central Plaza Fountain. Analyzing. Speech balloon warning. Multiple unknown presences detected. Dimensional origin. Negative energy signature. Threat level: extreme. Quantity: 87 plus. 134 plus. Increasing. Izuku's blood ran cold. Sensei. 13. Somethings. Before he could finish, the air above the central fountain ripped. Not a tear, but a spreading pool of inky, swirling darkness coalesced into a massive, ragged portal. A chilling silence fell, broken only by 13's abruptly cut off speech. Then they poured out. Not a trickle, but a torrent. Dozens, then scores of villains, rough, scarred, armed with crude weapons and malicious grins, spilled onto the plaza like sewage flooding a pristine street. They fanned out with alarming speed, blocking exits, surrounding the class. The air thickened with menace and the scent of ozone and decay. Panic hit Class 1A like a physical blow. Students stumbled back, cries of alarm rising. Kirishima hardened instantly, Kaminari sparked, Jiru's jacks snapped up. Himiko shrank back, a low, panicked whine escaping her, her eyes darting wildly. Tsuyu pulled her closer. Ribbit. Stay close. Students, get back. Form a defensive perimeter around 13. Aizawa's voice, sharp and devoid of any lingering fatigue, cut through the panic. His capture weapon snapped around his neck, his goggles were already down. He didn't hesitate. He didn't wait for orders. He launched himself forward like a black-clad missile, straight into the heart of the advancing villain horde. It was breathtaking and brutal. Erasure flared in his eyes, red and terrifying. Villain's quirks winked out mid-attack, a man's extending arms froze, another's fire breath choked into smoke, a third's hardening skin softened. Aizawa moved with impossible speed and fluidity, a whirlwind of controlled violence. He used their momentum against them, his capture weapon lashing out like steel whips, binding limbs, disarming, throwing bodies with bone-jarring impacts. He didn't just dodge, he predicted, flowing between clumsy swings and wild blasts before they even fully formed, a ghost in the chaos. Every movement was economical, devastating. Bones cracked under precise strikes. Villains dropped like puppets with cut strings. Izuku watched, heart hammering against his ribs. He tried to focus, to access the system. Command, messenger to report target, class _1A destination. The console flickered red. Crossmark error. Localized reality distortion detected. Source, villainous orbital. Spatial manipulation locked. He tried again. Unlock _spatial manipulation. Crossmark error. Counter quirk interference. Source, multiple high-yield unknowns. Why can't I teleport us out? Izuku hissed, frustration warring with terror. The system was struggling, jammed by something powerful and alien. Midoriya. Focus. Ida yelled, ushering students back towards 13, who was creating small black holes to deflect projectiles. We need an evacuation route. Entities 9, Human 2. Threat levels, apocalyptic. Affiliation, of. Weapons, bioweapons. Filled. Name, Tamura Shigaraki not existing file name. Suddenly, the air near the central portal warped again. Not more grunts, but two figures stepping through the darkness. One was a lanky young man with pale blue hair, scratching his neck furiously, wearing detached hands like morbid trophies, Tamura Shigaraki. Beside him stood the hulking, exposed brain monstrosity, the Nomu. But it wasn't alone. 6 more figures stepped out behind Shigaraki. Each was a different grotesque nightmare, twisted amalgamations of muscle, bone, and exposed cybernetics. Nomu. One crackled with visible electricity, its eyes glowing yellow. Another seemed to ripple with heat distortion. A third had multiple limbs ending in blades. FO hadn't held back. This was a display of his true, terrifying reach, his control over the underworld and its resources. Izuku did not have to know their names, only that their intent was to kill too. Kurojairi, Shigaraki rasped, his voice dripping with malice. Scatter the children. Kill the teachers. Especially the symbol of peace when he arrives. Start with the nuisance. He pointed a decaying finger at Aizawa, still tearing through the mook villains. The mist villain, Kurojairi, billowed forward, his yellow eyes glowing. As you wish, Tamura Shigaraki. His form expanded, dark mist swirling violently, preparing to engulf the class. Izuku saw it coming. His HUD screamed warnings about spatial displacement. He couldn't unlock mass teleport, but maybe. Target, Kurojairi at $$ at %% at %, Oboro Shirakumo #@ and access, Quirk under system thwop industry, Ventifine Stein, spatial defining, inject food, random system forward, loop _command, true, execute, stealth. A tiny, almost invisible green pulse shot from Izuku's fingertip, vanishing into Kurojairi's mist. The swirling darkness convulsed violently. Instead of forming precise portals, it sputtered, flickered, and spat out confused villains into random zones, one dropping into the flood, another materializing halfway up the landslide, a third appearing inside a burning building. Kurojairi let out a distorted sound of surprise and pain. Malfunction? Impossible! Shigaraki snarled. Nomo. Deal with the brat. The rest, kill Eraserhead. Now. The lightning Nomu zeroed in on Izuku, its crackling aura intensifying, causing Izuku's HUD to fizz and glitch. Warning, electromagnetic interference. System stability, 65%. It lunged, faster than Izuku could track, a fist crackling with enough voltage to fry a building aimed at his head. He activated OFA at 100% and decided to take the hit because his classmates were behind him. He then punched the Nomu so hard that exploded from his torso up, but starting regenerating, so he decided to try and use his quirk with the momentarily KO Nomu. Target, electric Nomu. Access, quirk _system, regeneration. Access, quirk _system, super speed. Access, quirk _system, electromagnetic pulse. Identify _function, body regeneration. Inject do, body decay. Loop _command, true. Execute, visible effects. Izuku panicked. Even if he could fight, this was his first encounter with the now identified LOV. He needed help. Now, access, target, campus nearby. Message, EA under massive villain attack. High-end NU present. Students in immediate danger. SOS. Overrange for security. Force and execute, urgent. A split second after the command was sent, the air above the USJ Plaza screamed. Not a portal this time, but a violent displacement of air as multiple figures warped into existence with flashes of light and energy. Cementos, Snipe, Ectoplasm, Hound Dog, Vlad King, landing hard, disoriented but instantly ready, drawn by Izuku's desperate, system-wide override. Simultaneously, with a thunderous boom that shook the very dome, a golden streak slammed into the ground between Izuku and the LOV Nomus, cratering the concrete. Dust and debris blasted outwards. Standing tall, muscles coiled, eyes blazing with fury, steam rising from his form, was All Might. He hadn't been teleported. He'd felt the surge of danger through the lingering connection Izuku had forged, the All Might protocol. His arrival wasn't dramatic, it was apocalyptic. Fear not, students. All Might's voice boomed, shaking the foundations. For I am here. He didn't even look at one of the approaching Nomu. He just moved. A blur of yellow and blue, a punch thrown with the force of a meteor strike. The crackling Nomu barely had time to register the attack before its torso vaporized in a shower of sparks, gore, and shattered cybernetics. Its regeneration flickered, but it was useless against another 3 hits of the sheer, overwhelming force. It collapsed, a smoking ruin. All Might landed lightly, steam swirling around him, his gaze fixed on Shigaraki and the remaining 6 high-end Nomu. The tide had turned, but the real battle, the one against this LOV true power, had only just begun. The USJ was now a war zone. Pepe projected a flickering, glitchy message onto the cracked plaza floor. Boss battle, initiated system stability, critical. Izuku was a little surprised. Another interference, Nomu? The thunderous impact of All Might's arrival sent shockwaves through the USJ. Dust and debris rained from the dome as the symbol of peace stood between the students and the remaining 6 high-end Nomu, steam curling off his form like a wrathful god. Shigaraki's eyes widened behind the hand mask, fear flickering in the manic crimson before hardening into fury. Nomus! Kill him! Kill them all! Izuku's HUD screamed. System stability, 58%. Electromagnetic interference, critical. Threat priority, Nomu X6 Shigaraki Kurogiri. He didn't hesitate. Amplifying his voice through his comms, he barked orders with commander-like precision. Class 1 Defensive Formation Alpha, as he put defensive planes in class brains. Ida, Uraraka evacuate to upper tier stairs. 13, cover them. Everyone else support the heroes from elevated positions. Do not engage directly. Ida's engines roared. You heard the president. Uraraka, float the injured. Ochako's hands glowed pink as she lightened Tsuyu and a trembling Himiko, while 13 created a black hole vortex to deflect falling debris. Kirishima and Sato formed a protective wall, ushering classmates toward the staircase overlooking the plaza. Momo's cannons materialized, laying suppressive fire as Jairu's sonic blasts disoriented straggling villains. The NMU purge. All Might moved first, a golden blur. He targeted the heat-rippling Nomu, but the blade-limbed horror intercepted him, sword screeching against his invulnerable skin. Texas smash. The shockwave cratered the ground, but the Nomu regenerated instantly, blades reforging. Izuku's fingers flew through holographic commands. Scan stones, blade stream. Analysis. Regeneration core spinal column node 7C. Alert, defense snipe. Snipe, perched atop Cementas's rising wall, didn't miss. 2 hypersonic rounds cracked through the air, shattering the Nomu's spine node. All Might's follow-up punch atomized it. 1 down. Another electric Nomu surged toward Izuku, EMP waves crashing his HUD into static. Warning, system failure imminent. Izuku gritted his teeth, OFA's green lightning flaring. Not today. He ducked under a plasma claw, driving a 100% smash into its chest. Bones shattered and organs dispersed, but it regenerated almost as fast, laughing with distorted gurgles. All Might's fist intercepted the next strike. Detroit smash. The Nomu's torso vaporized, but its limbs kept moving, crawling toward Izuku. Thankfully it was damaged enough for his Quirk to fail. Override. Inject. Self-destruct. The Nomu froze, circuits overloading. A final shriek, and it exploded in a shower of sparks. 2 down. Capturing Kurogiri Shigaraki's escape. Kurogiri's mist swelled, enveloping Shigaraki. Tamura Shigaraki, we must retreat. All for One did not anticipate this resistance. No. I'll kill those cheating kids myself, Shigaraki lunged, decay spreading toward the stairs where Himiko huddled. Izuku's eyes narrowed. Target, Kurogiri. Force and from steam. Solid and duty. Kurogiri's mist contracted violently, condensing into a trembling, humanoid form, a man with shock blue hair and glowing yellow eyes, now corporeal and vulnerable. Vlad King's blood cables lashed out, binding him. Got you, fog face. But Shigaraki's decaying hand grazed the staircase edge. Concrete crumbled until Cementas's wall erupted, sealing the decay. All Might's fist connected with Shigaraki's ribs. A sickening crunch echoed. Shigaraki vomited blood, crumpling. Kurogiri screamed, straining against his bonds. With a final warp spasm, he engulfed Shigaraki's broken body, vanishing into a dying wisp of darkness. Aftermath. Silence fell, heavy and blood-soaked. The remaining Nomus lay in ruins. Ectoplasm's clones had pinned 2 for Hound Dog's blows and Izuku's killing blows, while Cementas entombed the last, which was promptly evaporated thanks to one All Might and Izuku joint punch. Teachers tended to wounds, students hugged each other, shaking. Izuku decided to speed up the process by activating Apply Buff, Mind, Radius, 1000 m, White Heavy Checkmark Apply Healing Buff, Restore Body, Radius, 1000 m, White Heavy Checkmark. Izuku deactivated his HUD, stumbling. Ochako caught him, her face pale but fierce. You did it, Izuku. All Might placed a hand on his successor's shoulder, Yagi's weary smile. You led them well, my boy. Today was your first day as a hero. Pepe projected a cracked, flickering shield emoji over the battered class. Mission complete. Casualties, none. Villain status, Shigaraki critical hit. Kurogiri, captured. Aizawa limped forward, goggles shattered, but his synced energy hum undimmed. He eyed the captured Kurogiri, then Izuku. Midoriya. When we debrief, you're explaining every system override. His voice was steel but the ghost of pride lingered. As sirens wailed in the distance, Class 1A stood united in the ruins, the weight of their first real battle settling upon them. The League had struck but UA had struck back harder. The real war had just begun.